Chapter 53. Hundreds of Fire Qilan army soldiers followed Chaotic Fire Pavilion's orders and moved neatly towards Yi Qinghan. They advanced and retreated in an orderly manner, cooperating with each other and intimidating everyone. Hua Fei'er and Hua Ye'er's faces turned pale. They knew how powerful the Fire Qilan army was. A small team could quickly suppress an early stage or even middle stage blood ignition realm martial artist. Now there were at least 2 large teams of Fire Qilan army soldiers. Even a peak stage blood ignition realm martial artist couldn't escape. Young Master Yi, why don't we give him the spirit crystals? Let's get through this first. Hua Fei'er might be afraid, but she was very calm. She whispered to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's killing intent gushed out. His vital essence poured out and gathered on the heavy frenzy saber, emitting a dazzling saber light. Boom! Kacha, he attacked crazily. The 7-feet-long saber slashed out horizontally. His vital essence was unstoppable. Before the Fire Qilan army's momentum reached its peak, Yi Qinghan took the initiative to attack. The 5th-grade saber pierced through the Fire Qilan army's defense. Long spears were broken on the ground. The Fire Qilan armor couldn't block the sharp attack. Pooh! In the blink of an eye, the 3 teams of people were cut in half at the waist and died on the spot. There were also some people who were swept away by the Zhen Yuan. The sharp Zhen Qi poured into their bodies and shattered their vitality. From the outside, it looked like they only had superficial wounds, but they were already dead. Courting death! Yi Qinghan shouted angrily. He danced crazily and pounced into the Chaotic Fire Qilan army. After a series of slashes, no one was a match for him. The Fire Qilan army was forced to retreat, screaming miserably. Blood flowed like a river on Adventure Street. Everyone was dumbfounded. Chaotic Fire Pavilion's body was cold. The shock in his eyes was indescribable as he kept retreating. You dare to kill my Fire Qilan army? Chaotic Fire Pavilion didn't know what was good for him. He still wanted to use his family's power to intimidate Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan used the sharpest 2nd-grade basic saber art to reply to Chaotic Fire Pavilion. He killed a few people with one saber. The 2nd-grade spiritual weapon was like tofu, weak in front of Yi Qinghan. Shwa shwa! The saber radiance shot out in all directions, slicing through iron like it was mud. With one man attacking, 100 enemies would not be able to break through. Not only did he force back hundreds of Fire Qilan army soldiers, but he also killed more than 70 of them in the blink of an eye. More than 100 of them were severely injured and lying on the ground. Hua Fei'er and Hua Ye'er's eyes were filled with fear. In their eyes, the Hua family was an undefeatable existence. Just the Fire Qilan army alone had more than 3,000 people. In addition to the Hua family's direct disciples and outer disciples, there were close to 10,000 people. It was too easy for them to kill someone below the Grotto Heaven realm. Hua Fei'er, how dare you team up with outsiders to kill members of my Hua family? The Chaotic Fire Pavilion didn't dare to face Yi Qinghan. Instead, he took a detour and pounced toward Hua Fei'er. The ominous glint in his eyes was extremely terrifying. Parting blade, Yi Qinghan swung his heavy frenzy saber, and the long saber spun and killed tens of people. Once again, the saber returned to his hand, and the Fire Qilan army didn't dare to attack again. They immediately retreated. At this time, Hua Wanchuan had already arrived in front of Hua Fei'er. How could these 2 little girls be a match for someone at the peak of the blood ignition realm? They were suppressed by the powerful raging flame palm, to the point where they couldn't even breathe. They could only wait for death. You're courting death. Yi Qinghan was enraged. He slashed his saber on the stone floor and rushed forward. He waved his hand and shouted in a deep voice, 8th Division Heavenly Dragon Palm. Palm images danced in the sky. Each palm was capable of seizing a person's soul. They drew on the momentum and directly attacked Chaotic Fire Pavilion's back. Chaotic Fire Pavilion only felt a bone-piercing pain from his back. He hurriedly gave up on killing Hua Fei'er and jumped to the side to escape. Yi Qinghan struck out 8 times in a row. His aura suddenly changed. A transcendent aura shot out, and a huge dragon image roared out from his body. Roar! Roar! The huge dragon was like a true dragon, sweeping across the land. It swam through the Adventurer's Street and opened its bloody mouth to bite Chaotic Fire Pavilion. Its speed was frightening, causing people to feel despair. Chaotic Fire Pavilion didn't dare to look back. He only wanted to escape from this palm attack as soon as possible. However, the huge dragon seemed to have eyes. No matter how he changed direction, it would quickly capture him. Hung. In an instant, the huge dragon's body surrounded Chaotic Fire Pavilion. Its mouth was filled with fangs that could shatter mountains. It swooped down from the sky and ruthlessly bit Chaotic Fire Pavilion. Ah no! Chaotic Fire Pavilion cried out miserably. His blood dyed the ground red. He constantly brandished his spear, wanting to shatter the huge dragon image. However, compared to Yi Qinghan's strength, the difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. His body was swept up by the huge dragon and rushed into the sky. It was too terrifying. Wang Yaoshi's face was deathly pale. Ling Piaomiao was so frightened that she couldn't speak. She was so intimidated by the barbaric and manic Yi Qinghan that she couldn't even move her legs. Hoo, everyone's breathing quickened. They felt as if there was a breath stuck in their chests that couldn't be released. What palm technique is this? It can actually strike out with the heavenly dragon's descent. Yi Qinghan was too lazy to look at everyone's expressions. The icy flames in his eyes were thick. Since he had already taken action today, he had to intimidate all the rascals in Flaming Cloud City. Hung. Yi Qinghan stabbed his heavy wild saber into the ground. His tall and straight body surged with energy. His robes fluttered in the wind. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stepped in a strange position. His vital essence connected to the huge dragon image. His palms slammed towards the fleeing Fire Qilin army. Hung! The huge dragon tore Chaotic Fire Pavilion apart. It swooped down from the sky and attacked the Fire Qilin army. Ah! Quick run! Oh my god! Who is this person? Quick, inform the elders in the tribe. Inform the superintendent. The Fire Qilin army was famous for its strict military discipline. However, at this moment, there was no such thing as military discipline. Escaping was the most important thing. However, how could their speed compare to Yi Qinghan's true Yuan giant dragon? The true Yuan giant dragon swept through everything in its path, sweeping up all the debris on the ground. It was so powerful that even the corpses were swept into the distance. Hua hua hua. Hung. The vital essence huge dragon was extremely violent. It exploded in the middle of the Fire Qilin army. Blood dyed the sky and the earth. The surrounding houses collapsed. Broken bodies fell down. The explosion shook the entire adventure street. Chaotic Fire Pavilion was bathed in a river of blood. He struggled on the ground. The piercing pain in his soul and body woke him up completely. He looked at Yi Qinghan in despair. His eyes were full of viciousness. You are dead. No matter who you are. You will die a horrible death for killing so many of our family. Chaotic Fire Pavilion did not look for himself. Instead, he pushed all the blame to Yi Qinghan. It seemed like this Chaotic Fire Pavilion deserved to die. Yi Qinghan's eyes glowed. Without any pity, he took a step forward and stepped on Chaotic Fire Pavilion's chest. Did my stone milk essence belong to your family? Did I steal your family's spiritual herbs? Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. It was soul-stirring. His killing intent was extremely dense. Without a doubt, if Chaotic Fire Pavilion dared to frame him again, he would not hesitate to crush Chaotic Fire Pavilion's body. It's not from the family. It's a misunderstanding. Mr. Yi, please don't be rash. Chaotic Fire Pavilion hurriedly begged for mercy. Is that so? If the people outside can't hear, then I will bear the bad name of a thief. Yi Qinghan slowly squatted down and looked down at the struggling Chaotic Fire Pavilion. The killing intent in his eyes was self-evident. Mr. Yi is definitely not the person who stole the family's spiritual herbs. This old man's eyes were blind. I beg for Mr. Ye's forgiveness. I am willing to compensate for the loss of Mr. Ye's reputation. Chaotic Fire Pavilion did not care about his reputation as he begged for mercy. Everyone looked at each other. They had never seen a Fire Qilin army superintendent beg for mercy. The family had always been powerful in Flaming Cloud City. Even a fourth-grade sex disciple would have to lower his head. As the saying went, a strong dragon could not suppress a local snake. However, Yi Qinghan was too ferocious. If a local snake dared to raise its head, he would smash its head down. If it dared to open its mouth, he would pull out its poisonous fangs. I will only give you one chance. I don't care how you explain today's matter to the Hua family. However, if they are like you, I will not give them a second chance. Scram. Yi Qinghan coldly said. Yes, I will scram now. Chaotic Fire Pavilion nodded continuously. He was afraid of angering Yi Qinghan. When he felt Yi Qinghan lifting his foot, he quickly got up and fled. Yi Qinghan swept his gaze across the crowd. His warning was very strong. Even Huang Yaoshi and Ling Piaomiao, who had strange personalities, felt their hair stand on end. They were not willing to offend him. Let's go, Yi Qinghan said to Hua Fei'er. Hua Fei'er was ready to pull out the heavy berserk saber and give it to Yi Qinghan. However, she found that she had to use all her strength to pull it out. The heavy berserk saber was not something that just anyone could use. Everyone watched as Hua Fei'er used all her strength to pull it out. Her chest became even bigger, making her look very funny. However, no one dared to laugh. Yi Qinghan faintly smiled. He reached out and took the heavy berserk saber. Then, he left Adventure Street with the two beautiful sisters. Take me to buy some pills. I want pills that are 3rd grade and above, Yi Qinghan indifferently said. The Spirit Treasure Pavilion was a gathering place for pills. Over there, as long as you had the money, there was no pill that you could not buy. Of course, this was only limited to 5th grade and below. This was because there was no 5th grade alchemist on Alfal planet. The three of them walked. The parrot was unusually silent. It was so strange that it made Yi Qinghan suspicious. Little guy, did you steal the Hua family's spirit fruit garden? Yi Qinghan asked. No, the parrot replied seriously. Really? Yi Qinghan sneered at the parrot, an ominous glint in his eyes. Ahem, I took a little. However, it seems that I did not lose anything. Otherwise, I would have been wronged by them. I would have been angry for master. The parrot laughed. Yi Qinghan was speechless. This bastard really did not want to make things difficult for him. Master, can you buy me a bigger yin-yang ring? I can't fit it. The parrot said helplessly. Didn't you only take a little? Yi Qinghan sneered. Yes, the space inside the ring is too small. It's full. The parrot said, feeling wronged. Yi Qinghan. Fortunately, the space inside the ring was small. Otherwise, the parrot would have taken the Hua family's spirit fruit garden. After arriving at the Spirit Treasure Pavilion, Hua Fei'er and Sun Fei looked at the dazzling array of treasures. Their eyes shined, especially the high-quality fire attribute spirit pills. These were necessary for them to cultivate the flame palm. Unfortunately, a single 3rd grade fire attribute spirit pill cost over 1,000 gold taels. They could not afford it. Hua Fei'er and Sun Fei both had fire attribute constitutions. The fire element in their bodies was very rich. They were extremely suitable for cultivating fire attribute cultivation methods. However, their family's basic palm technique, the flame palm, was too low grade. It was only a 1st grade. Yi Qinghan could see the light in their eyes. He felt that there was nothing wrong with helping them. At the very least, when he was in trouble, they did not choose to abandon him. Instead, they were prepared to fight with the Chaotic Fire Pavilion. The 3rd grade red flame palm is more suitable for them. Even someone like Sun Fei'er who does not have a fire attribute constitution can use it. The red flame palm should be able to flourish in their hands. Yi Qinghan thought about it. He felt that he owed them a favor and should give them a way out. Chapter 54. Yi Qinghan wantonly bought pills. He wanted to use up all the gold and gold notes he had. These things were useless at crucial times, and they were not as useful as pills. Hua Fei'er and her sister's eyes were wide open. They looked at Yi Qinghan's rich and willful appearance, as he threw out hundreds of thousands of gold without blinking. They were dazzled by his generosity. Give me 20 fire spirit pills. After Yi Qinghan bought what he needed, he set his eyes on the fire spirit pills. He had decided to nurture this pair of beautiful sisters. Hua Fei'er swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said to herself, My goodness, my sister and I have to think for a long time before buying one. But he bought 20 in one go. What a tycoon! Tall, rich and handsome. High and mighty. Spending money like dirt. It was as if all the good points could be linked to Yi Qinghan. Hua Fei'er was also shocked speechless by Yi Qinghan. All right. For a big customer like you, we will definitely give you a 10% discount. The waiter's eyes were sparkling. He treated Yi Qinghan as a god of wealth. What if it's your Spirit Treasures Pavilion's honorary winemaker? How much discount can you give? Yi Qinghan took out a golden token. On it was engraved the word glory. It was a soul-stirring sight. The waiter's face turned green with fright. He fell to his knees and kowtowed repeatedly. I didn't know sir was coming. Please forgive me. Get up. Don't disturb the others. Yi Qinghan said in a very low-key manner. Yes, sir, you are very honorable. We will give you at least a 50% discount. However, I will have to inform our store manager. The waiter said respectfully. Go. Tell him not to spread the news. I don't like crowds. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. The servant left. Huafei and Huoye were completely dumbfounded. It turned out that Yi Qinghan was not only a tall, rich and handsome man, but also a respected and honorable winemaker. A winemaker recognized by the Lingbao Pavilion. No matter what, he had to be a winemaker above the 4th rank. Young master, Huafei muttered. She wanted to bow, but she didn't know how to do so. She was completely stupefied. There's no need to be so polite. I'm not your Hua family's honorary winemaker. Yi Qinghan was very calm. He didn't see this identity as an honor at all. With this token, he could buy things in the Lingbao Hall at a discount, which was much more practical than the so-called honor. Not long after, an elegantly dressed middle-aged man quickly ran over. He looked at Yi Qinghan with a puzzled expression. He was somewhat doubtful about the authenticity of Glory's winemaker. Sir, may I know your name? We haven't been notified by our superiors yet, so we didn't know that ancient Lulan had a glorious winemaker. Could you please show me the token? Zhu Sheng was the person in charge of the Lingbao Hall's Flaming Cloud City in ancient Lulan. He had great authority, but he didn't dare to blaspheme the Glory's winemaker recognized by the Lingbao Hall. Even if he suspected that Yi Qinghan was a fake, he didn't dare to say anything too unpleasant. Yi Qinghan was indeed too young. Anyone else would be suspicious, so Zhu Sheng's attitude didn't displease Yi Qinghan. He casually took out the token and tossed it to him. This one is Yi Qinghan from the Qingyang Kingdom. This token was given to me by Qin Zheng, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Qin Zheng? Zhu Sheng was stunned. He seemed to understand something. The Lingbao Hall was the Qin family's property. Only they had the right to issue honorary tokens. Each one was extremely precious. Zhu Sheng looked at the token carefully and found that it was indeed the most valuable treasure of the Lingbao Hall. Each token represented an elder. Even if they didn't have any real power, their status was very respected. Greetings, Mr. Yi. This one is Zhu Sheng, the head deacon of the Lingbao Hall in Flaming Cloud City. You can call me Little Zhu. Zhu Sheng respectfully returned the token to Yi Qinghan and bowed. Mr. Zhu, you don't have to be so polite. I just want to know how much discount I can get for the things I buy. Yi Qinghan put away the token and asked with a shrug. Ah, it seems like Qin Zheng didn't tell you the use of the token. Zhu Sheng cupped his fists and explained. The glory token represents an elder of the Lingbao Hall. Wherever you go, in times of emergency, you can transfer 10,000 low-grade spiritual crystals and below from the Lingbao Hall. You can pay it back within 3 months. If you buy things from the Lingbao Hall, you can get a 30% discount. 10,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. A 30% discount. These benefits really moved Yi Qinghan. It seemed like the Tier 4 pill recipe that he gave away was finally being repaid. Alright then. Give me another 50 Tier 3 Fire Spirit pills and 3 Tier 3 Universe rings. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and said in a serious tone. Alright, please wait a moment. I will immediately pack them up and send them to you. After Zhu Sheng finished speaking, he got the servant to prepare them and led Yi Qinghan into the private room. Mr. Yi, if you have any urgent matters in Flaming Cloud City, or if it is inconvenient for you to do them, just tell little Zhu. I will definitely do it for you. Zhu Sheng respectfully expressed his goodwill. Yi Qinghan looked at the shrewd Zhu Sheng and knew that he wouldn't be able to take advantage of him. However, there was no need to offend him. As a local overlord, his words might be more effective than the head of the Hua clan. Alright, I don't need anything for the time being. I will still be here for a while. If there is any trouble, I hope Mr. Zhu can help me. Yi Qinghan nodded and said, Not at all. Mr. Yi is young and talented. You will definitely have a great future in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. If there is a chance, I hope you can promote me. Zhu Sheng smiled and said, Mr. Zhu is too polite. If there is a chance to go to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's headquarters in Qing Province, I will definitely recommend you. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said, Mr. Zhu, Qinghan still has matters to attend to. I will take my leave now. May I know where Mr. Yi lives? If it is inconvenient, you can come to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's Guest Welcoming Pavilion. This is the place to welcome guests. It has its own spirit gathering array. Normally, I am not qualified to stay here. When Zhu Sheng saw Yi Qinghan leaving, he immediately expressed his goodwill again. There is no need. I will be staying at Huafei's house for the time being. Yi Qinghan handed over 200,000 gold and took the things he bought. Then he left the city center with Huafei and Yiya. Along the way, Huafei and Huya were very cautious. They didn't dare to act as casually as before. Before, they were thinking about how to make Yi Qinghan stay. But now they were thinking about how to make Yi Qinghan take them away. Their status as a direct descendant of the Hua clan didn't seem so noble anymore. After returning home, Yi Qinghan sat in the living room and gave all the fire attribute spirit dawn to Huafei. Their eyes lit up, and they were extremely excited. In their opinion, Yi Qinghan still had them in his heart. Otherwise, why would he spend so much money on them? Huafei, Huya, you two are cultivating a low-grade flame palm. Its power is not strong. I will teach you a third-grade fire attribute martial skill called Scarlet Flame Palm. It is 10 times stronger than your Hua clan's Raging Flame Palm. However, this martial skill is very vicious. Not only will it harm the enemy, it will also harm the user. If you are not careful, you will be poisoned by the fire. Therefore, when you cultivate it, you must not be too hasty. Yi Qinghan warned them. Third-grade fire attribute martial skill? Scarlet Flame Palm. Huafei's body trembled. The Hua clan's strongest Raging Flame Palm was also a third-grade martial skill. However, it was only a lower-grade martial skill. Yet it was able to intimidate a large city. From this, one could see the importance of martial skills. If she had the upper-grade Scarlet Flame Palm, her and her sister's achievements would definitely surpass the Hua clan's ancestors. The highest level of this martial technique is the peak of the Bitter Sea stage. If you are lucky enough, you may be able to enter the step-on-air stage of the Heavenly Passage stage. It is not a good martial technique, but it is very suitable for you. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Thank you, young Master Yi. We sisters are unable to repay you. Please accept us. We cannot help you fight against the enemy, but we can at least take care of your food and shelter. We will warm your bed in the winter. We will not complain. Huafei said respectfully as she knelt down. Huya also knelt down. She looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly, hoping to receive affirmation. However, Yi Qinghan shook his head without hesitation. He helped the two sisters up and passed on the Scarlet Flame Palm's training route, mantras, and his previous life's experiences to them. He said hoarsely, I am just a wild man. I do not need anyone to serve me. With this martial skill, you will be able to stand firm in ancient Lulan. I do not need to worry. Huafei did not expect Yi Qinghan to reject her so straightforwardly. Her face darkened and she said sadly, Sigh. A young talent like young Master Yi is not someone we can covet. We are not even worthy of warming your bed. Do not belittle yourself. In this world, everyone is equal. There are no lowly people, only lowly people. If you look down on yourself, why should I look up to you? What's more, I have my reasons for rejecting you. I am helping you because you have helped me. I recognize your character. A rank 3 fire attribute martial skill is nothing to me. You do not need to feel burdened. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Huafei listened to Yi Qinghan's words and was shocked. She was even more in awe of Yi Qinghan. Fei understands. Thank you for your advice. If you need us in the future, we will repay you with our lives. Idiot, do you want to find a fairy? You are destined to be alone for life. The parrot was dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's performance. It said disdainfully, and turned away to continue sleeping. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. Before he took revenge, he did not care about feelings. Because his enemies were all the Dao sovereigns and great revered martial artists in the entire Xiaolong region. You serve the young master. I will go and cook. Huafei left the room. Huaye's face was red. She poured a cup of spiritual tea for Yi Qinghan and went behind Yi Qinghan. She stretched out her hand and gently pinched his shoulder. Her strength was just right, and Yi Qinghan's tiredness was swept away. Yi Qinghan did not refuse. Otherwise, the two sisters would be even more reserved. The parrot did not disturb the two of them. It flew out of the living room and landed on the treetop. It enjoyed the nourishment of the sun. Its fat body was stretched out lazily. After the three of them finished their lunch, they were preparing to cultivate. An uninvited guest came. It was an extremely arrogant supervisor from the Hua clan. You are Yi Qinghan? The great elder wants to see you. Come with me. The visitor ordered coldly. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the matter with the Hua clan was not over yet. The cold flame in his eyes became colder and colder. The temperature in the room dropped rapidly. Chapter 55. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the matter with the Hua family was not over yet. The cold flames in his eyes became colder and colder, and the temperature in the room dropped rapidly. The newcomer was covered in cold sweat from Yi Qinghan's aura. He kept retreating until he reached the door, and his eyes were filled with fear. Say what you just said again. Yi Qinghan said coldly. My Hua family's great elder wants to see you. He wants to invite you over. The newcomer finally passed on the Hua family's great elder's words. Isn't that an order? Yi Qinghan suddenly stood up. His aura rushed out of his body and pressed down on the newcomer. No. The newcomer gritted his teeth, and his legs trembled. He lowered his head and said softly, It's Hua Chun who doesn't know how to speak properly. Please forgive him. Hua Chun, go back and tell your great elder that if he wants to see me, tell him to come and see me personally. Also in the future, anyone who enters this house must first knock on the door. Because from the moment I arrived, this place belongs to me and not the Hua family. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan's voice was low as he suppressed the aura within a 100-meter radius. It also suppressed Hua Chen's soul. I understand. I will pass this message to the Hua family. Hua Chen did not dare to refute, even if this was the Hua family's outer force. Go. I hope that the next Hua family member who comes is not an idiot. My patience is limited. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, indicating that he could leave. Hua Chen did not dare to say anything, and quickly left the courtyard house. Hua Fei watched Yi Qinghan wave his hand to retreat and suppress the Hua family's elder. Her heart was in turmoil, and her eyes were filled with admiration. That kind of confidence and arrogance was not something that anyone could imitate. Yi Qinghan's aura came from the soul of a great martial saint. It came from the accumulation of 1,000 years. Even a Grotto Heaven Realm expert might not dare to go against him. Don't worry. Before I leave, I will definitely suppress the Hua clan. If they want to die, I will slaughter them. From now on, the Hua clan will be under your control. Yi Qinghan revealed a bewitching smile that sent chills down everyone's spines. In front of Yi Qinghan, Hua Fei, and Hua Fei had become women without any thoughts of their own. Even if Yi Qinghan were to make all sorts of unreasonable requests, they would happily accept them and not refuse. You guys can leave. Practice your crimson flame palm well. I believe you won't be disappointed, Yi Qinghan calmly said. Hua Fei and Hua Ye didn't dare go against Yi Qinghan's will. They bowed respectfully and left. Dong dong dong. After a few crisp knocks on the door, two figures stepped in. Coiling Tiger has come to pay his respects to Mr. Yi. Coiling Tiger and Chen Song arrived at Hua Fei's home one after the other. Coiling Tiger bowed and asked to see Chen Song, but Chen Song was constantly sizing up the courtyard. His gaze wandered as if he was observing the environment. What's the matter? Yi Qinghan stood up and walked into the courtyard. Looking at the two, he sensed Chen Song's strangeness. Today, I learned that young Master Yi fought with the Hua clan. I know that you have a deep understanding of the martial path, so I came to ask you a few questions. I wonder if young Master Yi can answer my doubts? Coiling Tiger respectfully asked. What questions? Yi Qinghan indifferently asked as he walked over to the stone table and sat down. I am stuck at the peak of the blood ignition realm and can't enter the bitter sea realm. I hope young Master Yi can give me some pointers. Coiling Tiger bowed. Yi Qinghan looked at Coiling Tiger's respectful attitude and couldn't help feeling satisfied. On the path of cultivation, those who reached the top were the teachers. Those who could sincerely ask others for pointers were worthy of being nurtured. What is the bitter sea realm? Yi Qinghan was slightly startled and asked. I, Coiling Tiger, have chased after you for several years and know nothing. I hope young master can answer my doubts, Coiling Tiger respectfully asked. The sea of bitterness rises from love and hate. No one in this world can escape the control of fate. The most painful memories of life gather together, forming the sea of bitterness. The bitter sea stage is also known as the heart demon stage. Only by overcoming one's heart demon can one reach the true bitter sea stage. There are many bitter sea stage experts in this world, but the majority of people have not overcome their heart demon. They only use strength to forcefully advance to the next level. But in the end, they will be stuck at the peak of the bitter sea stage and will never be able to step into the heavenly passage stage. When Coiling Tiger and the others heard Yi Qinghan's explanation, their bodies trembled as if they had been enlightened. Some of the vague questions suddenly became clear. They could reach out and touch the bitter sea realm, but they were still lacking a little bit. Yi Qinghan stood up, a bleak aura pervading the air. Coiling Tiger looked at Yi Qinghan's back and felt as if he was looking at an endless sea with surging waves. He was a lonely boat that could be swallowed by the waves at any time. Different experiences, different realizations. The current Yi Qinghan and the Yi Qinghan of the past had different realizations of the bitter sea realm. Because he had experienced many more things, he had experienced the pain of his clan being exterminated. If he overcame his heart demon once more, he would become even more powerful in the future. Yi Qinghan's memories were pulled back. Looking at the void, he felt as if he was looking at the past. A man in a blade rushing through the battlefield, surrounded by countless martial revered experts. He could only watch as his clansmen died one by one. Al Warstar was shattered, and his best brother fell into the sky with a single sword. But he couldn't escape the tearing of fate. Clenching his fists, a bleak aura pervaded the air, enveloping the entire courtyard. Coiling Tiger was startled. He didn't think that his question would actually trigger Yi Qinghan's heart demon, causing him to cross the bitter sea realm. At this moment, he was even more clear about what the bitter sea realm was. Hua Fei, and Hoi Er's expressions were sorrowful. They were also grieved by Yi Qinghan's bleak aura. Looking at Yi Qinghan's heart-wrenching back, they really wanted to go up and hug this man who made them feel both sorrow and joy. Walking through the rain, walking through the sun, walking through the mud, walking through the bitter sea realm. Even if no one can understand, one must still firm one's Tao heart. One must be as steady as a boulder. One must walk forward and never look back. His hoarse voice infected everyone's emotions. Coiling Tiger and the others looked at his proud back and seemed to have understood many things. Their grief made them even more resolute. Yi Qinghan slowly walked to the side of the garden. Raising his head slightly, he forcefully stopped comprehending the bitter sea realm. He had his own plans. He didn't want to quickly enter the bitter sea realm. In this life, every step he took had to be firm and steady. Coiling Tiger, go and recall the past that you don't want to mention the most. The stronger your heart demon, the greater your future achievements will be. If you can't overcome your heart demon, you will turn into the devil path and only know how to kill. If your mind is strong enough, you can still control your heart and continue to live in this world. If your mind is not strong enough, your chi and blood will quickly burn away. In less than 3 years, your chi and blood will be exhausted. Many thanks for young master's explanation. I understand a lot now, said Coiling Tiger excitedly. And you and I are fated. I'll give you another sentence. If your heart is bright, even if the universe is dark, you can still see your own path. If your heart has no path, even if the great Tao fills the sky, you will still walk to hell. Grasp the Tao in your heart. If your Tao exists, your heart demon will not exist. Yi Qinghan nodded. Yes, young master is right. Coiling Tiger became even more respectful. He no longer treated Yi Qinghan as a young man. Go. Make some preparations before breaking through. There's no harm in doing so, Yi Qinghan said with a smile. I thought it was something amazing. Turns out it was all nonsense. I didn't have the slightest comprehension. What a waste of time. Chen Song suddenly exploded and said with disdain, Coiling Tiger? Huafei And Yi Qinghan's expression suddenly changed. They didn't expect Chen Song to be so rude. They couldn't help but feel angry. Clearly, they were already standing on Yi Qinghan's side. Yi Qinghan gave Chen Song a deep look. He knew that this fellow was jealous. He couldn't help but laugh at himself and shake his head. Since it's useless to you, then don't listen. Go. That's right. No one asked you to come. If you don't want to listen, then leave. My family doesn't welcome you, Huafei coldly said. Leave my family? Young master spoke so well. Yet you still dare to insult him. You are truly unreasonable. Huayar angrily glared at Chen Song. This was the first time she was so angry at someone. Chen Song seemed to be even angrier. Huayar and Huafei had always been the leader and had never been angry at him. However, ever since Yi Qinghan appeared, they had completely forgotten about him. The hatred in his eyes was self-evident. He hated Yi Qinghan for ruining his plans. He also hated the sisters for being fickle, liking the new and abandoning the old. Actually, this was only Chen Song's self-righteousness. Huafei and Huayar had never said that they liked him. Perhaps Chen Song only fancied Huafei's status as a branch family member of the Hua clan. Moreover, she had such a good foothold in Flaming Cloud City. Moreover, his ambition was even greater. He wanted to take in both Huafei and Huayar at the same time and enjoy the blessings of having two lovers. Good. I'm leaving. Huayar, in the future you will beg me. Chen Song was furious. He flicked his sleeves and left. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Yi Qinghan looked at Chen Song's eyes as he left. He knew that this youth had gone mad. In the future, he would definitely oppose him and Huafei. Young Master Yi. Chen Song is too young and doesn't know any better. He has been blinded by love. Please don't lower yourself to his level. Coiling Tiger helplessly said. I won't bicker with him. However, he better not make me do anything. Otherwise, there will be no room for discussion. You should leave as well. Yi Qinghan calmly waved his hand. He already had a plan in mind. After Coiling Tiger left, Huafei and Huayar began to cultivate on their own. With the Scarlet Flame Palm and the Fire Spirit Pills, their progress was extremely fast. Yi Qinghan swallowed a large amount of spirit pills to refine his body. His flesh and blood body had turned into a diamond body that was hard to injure with blades and swords. He was as immovable as a mountain, but when he moved, mountains would crumble and the earth would crack. Yi Qinghan's cultivation method was very unique. It was almost entirely through meditation. The little person inside his body would use all kinds of strange and powerful moves. Using Zhen Yuan, it would raise a storm in his sea of consciousness. This kind of meditation cultivation method was very advantageous. Not only could it cultivate secret arts, but it could also enhance one's soul perception, increase one's reaction speed, and change one's moves. 4 hours later, Yi Qinghan felt that there was no point in cultivating like this. He stood up and walked to the front yard. Looking at the scenery around him, he felt as if he was one with the heavens and earth, unshakable. The great elder of the Hua family stood alone in the distance, overlooking Yi Qinghan. His brows were tightly knitted. He could see that Yi Qinghan was very strong. Whether it was walking or admiring the scenery, it was impossible for others to attack. He had never seen a person who could subconsciously maintain an offensive and defensive mentality while walking. This was not because Yi Qinghan was deliberately maintaining vigilance, but because it was an innate habit. Erupting in an instant, his berserk battle strength could instantly shatter any sneak attack. Chapter 56. Yi Qinghan slowly turned around, gazing into the distance. His eyes were like torches, locking onto the figure of the great elder of the Hua family. Great Elder Huafeng was taken aback. He did not expect that even though he and Yi Qinghan were several miles apart, Yi Qinghan was still able to discover him. What a strong perception ability, Is it a coincidence? Huofeng could not believe it. With a single step, he crossed 100 meters, galloping quickly towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was like a javelin, standing straight with his hands behind his back, waiting for Huofeng to arrive. The battle strength of the 5 stars of the Bitter Sea stage was much stronger than Situ Yunxiao, but it was not enough to cause much damage to Yi Qinghan. This old man is Huofeng, the great elder of the Hu family. Greetings to young Master Yi. Huofeng had white hair, but after all, he was a person who had seen the world. He was not like the other members of the Hu family, who had their eyes on top of their heads, and did not put anyone in their eyes. Well, what has fellow Hu come here for? Are you also here to question me for stealing your family's 500 kilograms of stone milk essence? Yi Qinghan asked indifferently. Cough cough, young Master Yi is too kind. Those kids were not sensible and offended young Master Yi. Please forgive them. Huofeng coughed twice, feeling very embarrassed. He knew best whether the Hu family had that much stone milk essence. If Yi Qinghan was not so strong and mysterious, he might have used his strength to forcefully seize Yi Qinghan's wealth. But now that the opponent was strong, he did not dare to act recklessly. Yi Qinghan sneered, waiting for Huofeng to continue. This old man also just learned of young Master Ye's identity, and specially came to ask for forgiveness, Huofeng said with a cupped fist salute. My identity? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. Half an hour ago, Deacon Zhu Sheng of the Lingbao Hall told me that you are the honorable winemaker of the Lingbao Hall. So I taught my unfilial sons a lesson and came to apologize to you in person, Huofeng said with a bitter smile. There's no need. I won't bother with them. However, you'd better make sure that some people don't have any ideas about Huofei and her sister. Otherwise, the consequences will be much worse than offending me. Yi Qinghan warned coldly. Of course, they are collateral relatives of the Hu family. It is our Hu family's honor to be favored by the young master. From today onwards, the sisters will be the Hu family's direct descendants. Apart from the Hu family's patriarch, no one can order them to do anything. Hu Maple hurriedly promised. Okay. Yi Qinghan nodded. He was quite satisfied with Fire Maple's attitude. Young master, I just received news that the auction house will hold a large-scale auction in half a month. The location will be Flaming Cloud City. There will be a large number of heavenly treasures being auctioned together. At that time, the experts of ancient Lulan will come together. I wonder if young master is interested in participating? I'll get you a VIP card as a token of my apology, Fire Maple said respectfully. Okay, bring it here. Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. He knew that there would be many treasures at the auction. The price would probably be very high as well. He would need to prepare a large number of spirit crystals and gold. Hu Maple left and returned to the Hu family's main hall with a serious expression. The Hu family's patriarch looked at Hu Maple's expression and asked in a deep voice, What do you think of him? Hu Maple thought for a moment and gave the most pertinent answer. He is very strong. He is only in the blood ignition realm. However, when facing him, the sense of danger I felt was even stronger than when you attacked me. He stood there like a ball of fire. He looked calm, but in fact he could burn 100 miles with a single move. No one can escape from his pursuit. Oh, a mere blood ignition realm cultivator is actually this strong? It seems that he is not as simple as the rumors say. A glorious winemaker would not be this strong, the Hu family's patriarch said in a deep voice. Patriarch, an elite like him should not lose to a direct disciple of a fourth-rank force, right? Should we continue investigating? Hu Maple asked. There is no need to investigate. If we continue investigating, he will definitely be disgusted. Go and ask Huofei and Huoya, or if they are willing to return and become direct disciples. This can also be considered as a sign of goodwill. The Hu family's patriarch shook his head. At this moment, Yi Qinghan personally went to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion and bought a third-rank alchemy furnace. He had Zhu Xing purchase a large amount of third-ranked and above spiritual herbs to refine pills and make money. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion had always cooperated with the Alchemy Pavilion and the Weapon Refining Sect. Obviously, half of the profits would be split. When he heard that Yi Qinghan knew how to refine pills, Zhu Xing was stunned for a moment. Then he became overjoyed. Young master, since you know how to refine pills, why don't you sell them in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion? You can monopolize 60% of the profits. I guarantee that you won't have to worry about it. Zhu Xing said excitedly. All right, you will provide the materials. Buy all the materials below the 5th rank. Even simple 5th rank pills are fine. I guarantee that you will make a fortune. Yi Qinghan nodded and prepared to cooperate with Zhu Xing. Yes, even simple 5th rank pills are fine. You are a 5th rank alchemist? Heavens, there is no 5th rank alchemist in the entire All Falling Star. Zhu Xing was excited and his eyes shone. If he had 5th rank pills, there would be many Grotto Heaven Realm experts fighting to buy them. Enough nonsense. Go and collect the materials. I need a large amount of spirit crystals recently. Yi Qinghan finished speaking and walked out of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion with some 3rd rank materials and a 4th rank alchemy furnace. He returned to the courtyard and began refining pills. The price of 2nd rank pills was too low, so it was not worth wasting time. He immediately took out 3rd rank and above pills. The Fire Attribute Fire Spirit pill was definitely the best of the 3rd rank. Its price could be increased by more than 10 times. One pill would cost 10,000 gold. That was equivalent to a low-grade spirit crystal. One furnace could refine over a dozen fire spirit pills. That was equivalent to over a dozen low-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan's alchemy skills had reached the pinnacle. With his true essence flames, not only could he refine pills, he could also cultivate. In an incense stick's worth of time, he could refine a furnace of pills. The purity of his true essence constantly rose. Although it was the same amount of true essence, the quality was like the difference between heaven and earth. The strength of his attacks would also increase. After refining for 2 hours, Yi Qinghan would meditate and recover his true essence. Every time he did so, he would make considerable progress. That night, Yi Qinghan had concocted at least 30 batches of medicinal pellets, 500 top-grade Tier 3 medicinal pellets, and 100 bitter sea pellets. Each bitter sea pellet was worth 100 low-grade spirit crystals, and it was priceless. It was easy to sell. After throwing over a dozen fire spirit pills to Huofei, Yi Qinghan took all the pills to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion and handed them to Zhu Xing to sell. Zhu Xing's price was more than twice as high as Yi Qinghan's. Continue to buy materials. I want as many high-grade materials as you have. It would be best if you could get me some 4th rank spirit herbs. Yi Qinghan was a bit anxious. The price of these 3rd rank pills was too low. The truly expensive ones were all 4th rank pills. Even a top-grade 3rd rank pill would only cost a few hundred spirit crystals. All right, young master, don't worry. I have a customer network. I will deliver the spirit crystals to you before tomorrow. Zhu Xing patted his chest and promised. And, after the purchase of materials, you will take 30%. The remaining 10% will be given to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. The remaining 60% will be sent to my residence. Yi Qinghan nodded and left the Spirit Treasure Pavilion with the purchased materials. When he returned home, Huofei and her sister had already prepared a meal and were waiting for Yi Qinghan to enjoy. Yi Qinghan looked at Huofei and Huoye. Ever since they started cultivating the crimson flame palm, their temperament had become even more captivating. Yi Qinghan looked at the table of food and felt his appetite increase greatly. Coupled with the fact that they were a feast for the eyes, he also sat down and enjoyed the meal. He had to admit that Huofei's cooking skills were top-notch. The food melted in his mouth, and the fragrance did not dissipate. Even some of the energy in the vicious beast meat was not wasted. With one bite he felt warm all over. This meal was very filling. Yi Qinghan sat on the chair and looked at the sisters in front of him with satisfaction. How is your cultivation of the crimson flame palm? Yi Qinghan calmly asked. I've already made some progress. Thank you for your kindness, young master. Huofei and Huoye respectfully replied. Practice diligently. The crimson flame palm is about the control of fire elements. The more fire elements there are in the body, the stronger the crimson flame palm will be. Also, remember to increase the purity of your Zhen Yuan. Whether a cultivator is strong or not, the quality of their Zhen Yuan is the most important. Yi Qinghan reminded. The two sisters nodded repeatedly, but before they could say anything, Yi Qinghan said, "All right, you two can leave now. I need to go into seclusion for a period of time. No one is allowed to disturb me." After the two sisters left, Yi Qinghan returned to the guest room. He sat cross-legged on the bed and closed his eyes. He mobilized the miniature person in his sea of consciousness and began cultivating the violent saber technique. His Zhenyuan was also tempering his body. Yi Qinghan had extremely high requirements for his body. His Zhenyuan flowed through his limbs and bones, and his blood vessels could be clearly seen. Scalding blood surged through his veins. The Zhenyuan in his vast qi churned, constantly rushing through his body and tempering his arms and legs. It was quickly consumed. An hour later, his Zhenyuan was completely exhausted. His qi dried up, and a pill entered his stomach. His Zhenyuan was quickly consumed, but at this moment, the quality of his Zhenyuan was more than twice as sharp as before. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. The miniature person in his sea of consciousness seemed to be tireless. It was as if a martial venerable had been reborn. It attacked from the depths of his sea of consciousness like lightning. At this moment, Huafeng arrived in the courtyard with a smile. He looked at Huafei and Huoye cultivating like a kind grandfather. He smiled and said, "Fei you've worked hard these past few years. Now are you willing to return to your family and become a direct disciple of the Hua family?" Huafei had always wanted to return to her family, but at this moment she hesitated. Going to the Hua family might not be as good as staying by Yi Qinghan's side. "Lord Elder, we need to take care of the young master these days. Can we talk about this later?" Huafei respectfully replied. Take good care of the young master. If you want to return to the Hua family, just directly inform me. In the future, no one will dare to stop you." Huafeng solemnly nodded. After Huafeng left, Yi Qinghan was still bitterly cultivating. He had no idea that his sisters outside had actually given up their lifelong dream for him. His Zhenyuan became increasingly pure, and his strength became increasingly powerful. He clenched his fists, and his veins bulged. The bottleneck of his cultivation realm actually showed signs of loosening. Yi Qinghan smiled. He wasn't in a hurry to make a breakthrough. For him, breaking through was as easy as flipping his hand. All he needed was to buy more Zhenyuan pills. As long as he had enough Zhenyuan, he would be able to do it. Chapter 57. Huafei and Huoye were cultivating the crimson flame palm in the courtyard. With the support of top-grade fire spirit pellets, they were able to achieve half the results with twice the effort. Their progress was extremely fast. When they struck out with their palms, the surrounding temperature would be scorching hot, making it unbearable. Yi Qinghan was wearing a purple battle robe that fluttered elegantly in the wind. He looked like a divine jade as he arrived at the courtyard. "My Zhenyuan isn't pure enough, and I haven't even used 10% of my fire attribute physique. The instant I strike out with the scarlet flame palm, I have to think of a way to draw out the fire element in my body. Only then can the scarlet flame palm reach its peak state. Its killing power is definitely not inferior to a mid-stage blood ignition realm existence. Young master, how can I draw out the fire element? I feel that the fire element in my body is very active, but when I attack, it disappears. I can't sense it anymore." Huafei was dazed as she asked with admiration. "It's not that you can't sense it, but that you don't have the energy to sense it. Your soul can't split into two and control both Zhenyuan and fire element at the same time." Yi Qinghan shook his head. Oh, Huafei felt wronged. In the younger generation, she could be considered a well-known figure. However, in Yi Qinghan's eyes she was still unworthy. "Forget it. Today, you two focus on the purity of your Zhenyuan and help me refine pills." Yi Qinghan was prepared to properly teach these two girls. He didn't mind wasting a bit of time. "I don't know how to refine pills." Huafei was startled. Alchemists and blacksmiths didn't have much battle strength, but their statuses were revered. A third-grade blacksmith or alchemist would be fought over by a fourth-grade force. "You don't need to know how to refine pills. As long as you burn your Zhenyuan and increase the temperature, the purity of your Zhenyuan will naturally increase. Yi Qinghan took out his alchemy furnace and had the two girls place their palms on it. Once their Zhen Yuan was ignited, it turned into a ball of flame that burned the furnace. The materials inside the furnace quickly melted, increased the flame, and increased the temperature. Learn to slowly control the flow of Zhen Yuan. Don't waste your Zhen Yuan. Alchemy can not only make your Zhen Yuan purer, it can also temper your soul. As time passed, Huafei and Huoya faces turned pale. Their clothes were drenched in sweat, and the temptation of being wet was enough to make one drool. However, Yi Qinghan didn't have the time to peek at them. Even if he wanted to see, they would probably be even more excited than him, and would strip for him to see. The two people's quintessential essence couldn't even support a cauldron of pills, before the quintessential essence in their qi seas was completely exhausted. The furnace fire gradually extinguished and Yi Qinghan took it over. He lightly said, "Take the fire spirit pill, and stimulate the rebirth of your true essence." Huafei and Huoya each swallowed a top-grade fire spirit pill. A massive amount of fire element erupted within them, and their true essence surged like a raging river, flooding their limbs and bones. Even their souls were rapidly growing. They had never experienced such an experience before. They moaned in comfort, their cries enchanting and enchanting. An hour later, Yi Qinghan had already refined several cauldrons of pills. Huafei and Huoya had also recovered to their peak condition. Their quintessential essence had been tempered to an even purer state. Although their cultivation hadn't risen by much, the quality of their quintessential essence had risen by a small level. Yi Qinghan looked at the two people whose temperaments had been reborn, and couldn't help but say with satisfaction, "You two have fire attribute physiques, and are very suited for alchemy. Perhaps you can learn alchemy, and your future accomplishments will far surpass your achievements in the martial path. Becoming a 5th grade, or even 6th grade alchemist is highly possible." "Really? 5th grade? The strongest influence on our entire Owl Falling Star is only 4th grade. Huafei said excitedly. A 5th grade alchemist was enough to establish their own sect, and become a 5th grade great sect. 5th grade and 5th grade alchemists were only 1 grade apart, but the difference was thousands of miles. They weren't even on the same level. Back in the day, the 5th grade Yi family could destroy countless Owl Falling Stars. Go to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, and get a 2nd grade cauldron. I'll teach you how to refine pills." Yi Qinghan nodded indifferently. Raising a 4th grade alchemist was very simple. When Huafei heard this, she couldn't wait any longer. She immediately changed her clothes with Huoya and rushed out of the house, heading straight for the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Parrot, follow them. There are a lot of strangers in the city today. Don't let anything happen to them. Yi Qinghan said worriedly as he watched the two run out of the courtyard. On a big tree in the courtyard, the parrot stretched lazily and reluctantly flew out of the courtyard. Its body of fat made it too lazy to move. After flying for a while, it felt a bit tired. It couldn't help but angrily say, "This body of pork belly, it's time to lose some weight. Otherwise, it'll really become a meatball. It'll affect this divine bird's martial prowess." East District, a poor district. Chen Song's house was an ordinary wooden house. At this moment, there was actually more than one peak blood ignition expert in the house. I've already said it very clearly. This Yi Qinghan has several thousand low-grade spirit crystals on him. You guys want spirit crystals, but I only want those 2 women. How about it? Chen Song's mouth hung an evil smile as he asked in a low voice. "They're just women. We can have as many spirit crystals as we want. 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals is enough for us to squander for several months. Brothers, how about it? Let's do this deal," a bearded man said excitedly. "Chen Song, are you sure his cultivation is between the middle and peak blood ignition stage, and he hasn't broken through to the bitter sea stage? If you dare to lie to us, I'll break your head. You should know the reputation of the 5 tigers of South China. If you dare to use us as tools, I'll torture you to death." The peak blood ignition experts were all filled with killing intent. They had definitely killed countless people. Chen Song's aura sank as he hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoists, I, Chen Song, am the backbone of the Coiling Tiger Battle Squad. How can I overestimate myself and offend the 5 tigers of South China. What I said is the truth. However, Yi Qinghan's battle strength may be stronger than a normal peak blood ignition stage expert. But he definitely hasn't broken through to the bitter sea stage. I believe that the 5 of you are not inferior to him. What a joke. In terms of battle strength, other than the monstrous geniuses of the royal family, who would dare to compete with the 5 tigers of South China? Even your Coiling Tiger Battle Squad's Coiling Tiger wouldn't dare to say that he could win against us. The boss of the 5 tigers of South China, Hua Dahu, disdainfully mocked. Then shall we do it tonight? Chen Song was excited. He wanted nothing more than to tie Huafei, and her sister to his bed right now. Good. There's still 2 hours before dawn. We'll leave now. There's no one around, so even if we fight, no one will know, Hua Dahu said in a serious tone. The 6 of them took advantage of the night to quickly rush towards the West District, approaching the courtyard. Huafei and her sister had just returned from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. They had brought back a small pill furnace and some low-level first-grade spirit herbs. The parrot lazily sat on Huayi's shoulder. As soon as they arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, it opened its sleepy eyes, narrowing them into a line as it scanned the direction of Chen Song's group. When they returned to the courtyard, Yi Qinghan was still refining pills. A large number of pills were being produced, each worth thousands of spirit crystals. I'll give you the recipe. Refine the pills yourselves and control the fire. It's fine to waste some first-grade materials. Yi Qinghan passed down some low-level pill recipes and his experience to Huafei and Huafei. Then he began to recover his true yuan. The moonlight poured down, and a wisp of spring wind brushed past. Tender shoots rushed out of the withered branches, blooming with boundless vitality. The red flowers absorbed the moonlight's spiritual energy and became even more beautiful. Master, there are some rascals outside, the parrot quietly warned. Yi Qinghan faintly smiled and nodded. I know. Let's wait for them to come in first. Hua Dahu and Chen Song definitely wouldn't have thought that Yi Qinghan already knew of their arrival and was even waiting for them to take the initiative to attack. At this moment, they were immensely pleased with themselves. They thought that Yi Qinghan hadn't discovered them, even though they had forced him to the entrance. Let's go in. If he knows what's good for him and hands over the spirit crystals, we might be able to spare his life. Otherwise, we'll cripple him. Hua Dahu was incomparably savage. He wasn't willing to restrain his aura and directly pushed open the door. Yi Qinghan was sitting on a stone bench in the courtyard. Under the moonlight, he watched as Chen Song and the others tyrannically kicked open the door. He slightly opened his eyes, and his gaze was like a torch as he stared at the 6 of them. You're Yi Qinghan? Hua Dahu arrogantly looked down on Yi Qinghan. Seeing that he was so young, he immediately looked down on him and asked with disdain. Yes, what's wrong? Yi Qinghan faintly smiled. The current scene was like a millionaire arrogantly asking a billionaire. The billionaire would always look at the other party modestly, neither arrogant nor impatient. This was his foundation. Little brat, this is your attitude after seeing your grandpa who? Kneel down. Hua Dahu coldly reprimanded. Ha ha ha, Yi Qinghan, aren't you very arrogant? Why don't you dare to be arrogant in front of the 5 tigers of Huanan? Chen Song arrogantly mocked. At this moment, Huafei and Hua Dahu heard the commotion in the courtyard and immediately ran out. When they saw the 5 peak blood ignition experts and Chen Song rushing into their house, they immediately glared angrily. Chen Song, what are you doing? You actually came to my house to cause trouble. Tomorrow, I'll have Uncle Coiling Tiger teach you a lesson. Huafei angrily said. Shut up, you stinking bitch. I've followed you for 10 years and helped you do so many things. Now you want to dump me? Today, I'm going to get on top of you and make you enjoy yourself under my crotch. Chen Song's eyes were filled with resentment as he coldly smiled. His evil desire was self-evident. Huafei and Huayi's appearance caused the 5 tigers of Huanan's eyes to light up. Their greed was immediately ignited. Huayi and Huafei were beauties to begin with, and adding on their fiery figures, any man would like them. Moreover, these illegal adventurers who relied on robbing others wouldn't care about anything else. TSK, not bad. We'll take these 2 girls. Once we've enjoyed them, We'll give them to you. Hua Dahu sinisterly smiled. Didn't we agree? You want Yi Qinghan's spirit crystals, and I want these two women. Chen Song was startled and hastily asked. Pa! Before Chen Song could finish his sentence, Hua Eru stretched out his hand and slapped Chen Song, causing him to become dizzy and fall headfirst into the flower pot beside him. Shut up. Since when did you have the right to refute what we've decided? If you dare say another word, I'll send you to hell. You won't even be able to drink a single mouthful of soup. Hua Dahe coldly warned. Yi Qinghan looked at Chen Song, as if he was looking at an idiot. How could it be fair to make a deal with such a person? And he still wanted to take the lion's share? He was truly an idiot. Brat, you'd better listen to us and hand over all the spirit crystals. Once we're done with these two women, we'll give them to you. We won't treat you unfairly. Otherwise you'll end up like that bastard Chen Song. Hua Dahu sinisterly threatened. Chapter 58. Hua San, whose words infuriated Chen Song, but he did not dare to say another word. Hua Feier and her sister were so scared that their faces turned purple. There were 5 of them, at the peak of the blood ignition realm. Once they joined forces, they were comparable to an early-stage Bittersea expert. Could Yi Qinghan really defeat them? It was not that Hua Feier did not believe in Yi Qinghan's strength, but that the opponents were too strong. Huiyer hid behind Yi Qinghan, trembling. She looked at the 5 tigers of South China in horror, and looked at Chen Song with hatred. She wanted nothing more than to cut him in half. Yi Qinghan's face became cold, and the corners of his mouth rose. He flipped his hand, and a spirit crystal full of spirit energy appeared in his palm. It emitted a faint spirit pressure that made people drool. Is this what you want? Yi Qinghan pretended to be afraid, and prepared to compromise. Ha ha ha, kid. You really know what's good for you. Give me your Qianquan ring. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you play with them later. Hua San, who laughed wildly, and reached out to grab the ring in Yi Qinghan's hand. Hua San, who approached Yi Qinghan without any defense. In his eyes, Yi Qinghan would not dare to resist, unless he wanted to die. But his feeling was wrong, and the consequences would be severe. Hua San, who and Yi Qinghan were less than a meter apart. At this distance, it was impossible to explode with too much power, so the other 4 tigers did not care too much. Yi Qinghan's aura suddenly changed. He clenched his fist and crushed the spirit crystal. Spirit energy poured into his fist, and he used the inch strike to the extreme. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Yi Qinghan's fist collided with Hua Sanhu's chest. The energy contained within the entire spirit crystal poured into Hua Sanhu's body. The spiritual energy tore apart his life force and destroyed his qi, blood, and vitality completely. Ah! Hua Sanhu's figure flew backwards. From the outside, he didn't seem to have any injuries. However, his internal organs had all turned into dust and fused together with his blood. Before the few people in the courtyard could react, Hua Sanhu had already smashed through the door and was thrown more than 10 meters away. After Yi Qinghan killed 3rd Tiger Hua, his body moved and his afterimages filled the entire courtyard. He punched out with both fists, aiming for 4th Tiger Hua and 5th Tiger Hua's throats. Hua Dahu and the others felt their hair stand on end. They never thought that Yi Qinghan would take the initiative to make a move. They immediately rushed towards Yi Qinghan in a frenzy, hoping that he would retreat and save the lives of their 2 brothers. However, Yi Qinghan's speed was extremely fast. All they could see were afterimages. The moment their moves touched the afterimages, they immediately dispersed. Meanwhile, Yi Qinghan's fist was right at the throats of China's 4 tigers and 5 tigers. Crack. Puff. The 2 tigers didn't even have time to use their Zhen Yuan, and were instantly sealed by Yi Qinghan's Zhen Yuan. Yi Qinghan's sharp Zhen Yuan flooded their qi, blood and meridians, causing them to be in a mess. In addition, their throats were pierced, causing them to lose all sensation below the neck. They couldn't control their lower body, and their bodies were distorted to the point that they were about to explode. Die! Yi Qinghan's fists changed into palms, and his moves changed instantly. He roared, downward style. Boom! The side of his palms were like sharp weapons, ruthlessly smashing their throats. The 2 tigers' eyes bulged and blood spurted out of their orifices. Their knees fell down heavily, smashing the stone floor into pieces. 3 of the 5 tigers were killed in an instant. Chen Song's face was pale with fright. No matter who won this time, he wouldn't have a good ending. Hua Dahu and Hua Eru's bodies were cold, and their movements were stiff. Their breathing stagnated and their qi and blood were sluggish. Their combat strength had dropped by a great deal. As they looked at Yi Qinghan's eyes, they didn't know what to do and retreated several steps. This was too terrifying. He had instantly killed 3 peak blood ignition realm martial artists, and they hadn't even had time to react. At this time, let alone Hua Dahu, even the young monstrous geniuses of Alfal Star would tremble in fear. Hua Dahu sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't dare to resist Yi Qinghan. He turned around and threw himself at Hua Fei'er. As for Hua Eru, he naturally threw himself at Hua Ye-er, wanting to use their lives to threaten Yi Qinghan. You don't know the meaning of death. Yi Qinghan crushed the stone floor with his foot and turned into a divine dragon. He used his extreme Dao technique and instantly circled around the 2 tigers. He brought Hua Fei'er and Hua Ye-er 100 meters away and rushed out of the courtyard house. Hua Dahu only felt his eyes flashing. In the courtyard house, other than the 2 empty corpses and the trembling Chen Song, there was no sign of Yi Qinghan or Hua Fei'er. Did we offend an exalted Grotto Heaven realm martial artist? This guy isn't at the peak of the blood ignition realm. He definitely isn't. We were tricked by this bastard. Hua Dahu roared and glared at Chen Song. He felt that Chen Song had done this on purpose. He couldn't help but wave his hand and punch through Chen Song's chest. Chen Song was only at the initial stage of the blood ignition realm, and was still a step away from the middle stage. How could he be a match for Hua Dahu? Bang! With a muffled sound, Chen Song's body exploded. The sharp True Origin Qi blade shattered his body into pieces. Ah! Chen Song screamed and wailed. Exalted One, I didn't do this on purpose. I really didn't know he was so strong. Fuck. I don't care if I can escape today. You must die first and accompany my 3 dead brothers. Hua Dahu and Hua Eru drew their swords and slashed wildly, splitting Chen Song's body into dozens of pieces. Blood flowed all over the ground. After venting his anger, Eru finally calmed down. When he saw Yi Qinghan appear again, his body trembled. Mr. Yi, my brothers were blind, and were bewitched by this bastard to attack you. Our 3 dead brothers definitely won't blame you. Please be magnanimous, and we are willing to make up for our mistakes. Hua Dahu bowed and didn't dare to show any disrespect. Oh, how do you want to make up for your mistakes? Yi Qinghan blocked the entrance and asked with his brows raised. We are willing to offer 500 spirit crystals to vent Exalted One's anger, Hua Dahu hurriedly replied. 500 for 2 people and 250 for 1 person. That's quite cheap, Yi Qinghan said calmly. No, 500 per person. Hua Dahu thought Yi Qinghan thought it was too little and hurriedly explained. Yes, Mr. Yi, 500 per person. We are just small fries to you. It doesn't matter if you kill us or not. Please be magnanimous and spare our lives. Hua Eru hurriedly begged for mercy. He didn't dare to take any chances. Actually, Yi Qinghan's voice was low. He purposely lowered his voice and looked down at the 2 of them. Actually what? Hua Dahu and Hua Eru hurriedly raised their heads and asked. Actually, if I kill you, the spirit crystals will still be mine. Swish. The blade flashed and cut through the sky. A long howl reverberated in all directions. A cold light flashed and blood splattered everywhere. 2 heads were separated from their bodies. Hua Dahu and Hua Eru thought Yi Qinghan would let them go for the spirit crystals. They didn't even think of resisting. Since they couldn't win even if they resisted, they might as well lower their stance and let Yi Qinghan have no reason to kill them. However, Yi Qinghan was a resolute person. How could he give up his decision for 500 spirit crystals? Besides, even if he killed them, the interspatial ring would still belong to him. All the spirit crystals inside would belong to him. There was no need to share with them. Yi Qinghan reached out and took off the 6 yin-yang rings. He discovered that Hua Dahu had at least 5,000 low-grade spirit crystals, countless pills, several grade 3 spirit herbs, and countless grade 2 spirit herbs. The other 4 tigers had about the same amount of spirit crystals. They all had around 3,000 spirit crystals. To be able to collect so many spirit crystals at the peak of the blood ignition realm on Alphal planet, where resources were scarce, one could imagine how many people these people had killed. As for Chen Song's yin yang ring, Yi Qinghan lost interest after a glance. Yi Qinghan put away all 18,000 spirit crystals. As for the grade 2 spirit pills and spirit herbs, he gave them all to Huofei. These things were simply a waste of space for him. Parrot burned their corpses. Yi Qinghan lifted his feet and flew up, kicking the corpses of the 4 tigers and Chen Song out of the courtyard. He then cleaned them and remodeled the courtyard, making it even more majestic than before. The parrot set a fire, burning the corpses of the 5 tigers of South China and Chen Song, until not even ashes remained. The wind blew and the stream flowed, returning them to nature. Huofei and Huofei's expressions hadn't recovered from the false alarm. They looked at the 2 yin-yang rings that Yi Qinghan had casually tossed out. When they saw the yin-yang rings, they were immediately stunned. The yin-yang rings contained at least several 100,000 gold taels, as well as a large amount of grade 2 spirit pills and materials. These things were several years of the Coiling Tiger battle team's income. That night, Huofei and Huofei didn't sleep at all. It wasn't that they didn't want to sleep, but that they couldn't sleep at all. Their minds were filled with images of Yi Qinghan casually killing the 5 tigers of South China. The next day, Huofeng represented the Huo family to deliver a VIP card and 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan accepted them all without any hesitation. After Yi Qinghan accepted the 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals, the Huo family actually felt a bit more relieved. Young master, if there's anything you like at the auction house, just say the word. The Huo family will definitely do our best. Huofeng said respectfully. No need. If I like something, I'll buy it myself. If there's nothing else, you can go back. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Huofeng didn't dare to say anything more. The Huo family already knew that the 5 tigers of South China had attacked Yi Qinghan last night. After all, this was the Huo family's territory. The upper echelons of the Huo family knew that Yi Qinghan was a barrel of gunpowder. It was a miracle that he hadn't killed all of the Fire Qilin army. After Huofeng left, the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's Deacon Zhu Sheng personally came to the courtyard and respectfully presented a grade 3 yin-yang ring. Yi Qinghan looked at the ring and couldn't help but glance at Zhu Sheng. Young Master Yi, I sold more than 500 spirit pills, for a total of 30,000 low-grade spirit crystals. After deducting the cost of the materials, I took 20%, and the Spirit Treasures Pavilion took 10%. The rest is all yours. Zhu Sheng smiled and said, Grade 3 spirit pills are in short supply. The customers said that as long as there are more, they are willing to buy them at a high price. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly. It seemed that Zhu Sheng was quite capable. 20% of the profit wasn't much. It could save him a lot of trouble. You're too polite. It's my honor to serve the honorable elder. Zhu Sheng replied humbly. Even when facing the head of the Huo family, this kind of big shot was neither servile nor overbearing. He was even arrogant. However, in front of Yi Qinghan, he didn't dare to be presumptuous. He gave Yi Qinghan enough face. Chapter 59. Deacon Zhu, help me keep an eye out for news from the Kingdom of Green Sun, especially the Skysword sect. If something big happens, remember to inform me. Also, there's news about the Blood Fiends. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment. He was still worried about Yi Mengxi and Wang Shi, so he decided to make some inquiries. Don't worry, there will be news tomorrow. Zhu Sheng patted his chest and promised. His eyes flashed, then he said, Oh right. The auction house is going to hold a large-scale auction that involves the entire ancient Lulan. Are you interested? I already know. I've also received a VIP card. Help me prepare more spirit crystals. Also transfer 100,000 spirit crystals from other places. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. 100,000 spirit crystals was enough to buy a city. Zhu Sheng could not help but be surprised. Seeing that Yi Qinghan did not seem to be joking, he said seriously, transferring 100,000 spirit crystals is not a small amount. It must be approved by the elders of the Lulan Treasure Pavilion. Please allow me to apply to the higher-ups. Tell them that I can use 3rd grade or 4th grade martial arts techniques to purchase them. I have plenty of unparalleled offensive or defensive martial arts techniques. It's just a matter of whether they can afford them. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and decided to turn these useless martial arts techniques into treasures. Grade 3 or even grade 4 martial skills. Sell them in bulk. Did I hear wrongly? Zhu Sheng was shocked. Grade 3 martial skills were already worth tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of lower-grade spirit crystals. As for grade 4 martial skills, one would have to use middle-grade spirit crystals, or even upper-grade spirit crystals to buy them. The key was that grade 4 martial skills rarely appeared on Alfal Star. Every time one appeared, it would attract countless Grotto Heaven Realm experts. Help me with this, and I won't mistreat you. Yi Qinghan gave Zhu Sheng a deep look, a warning in his eyes. Thank you, Elder, for your appreciation. I will do it right away. Zhu Sheng respectfully retreated. Many unfamiliar experts suddenly appeared in Flaming Cloud City. The weakest was at the peak of the Blood Ignition realm. Some of the younger disciples looked to be in their 20s, but many of them were already at the Bitter Sea realm. The crown prince of ancient Lulan, Lu Outyan, descended from the sky. His mount was a 3rd-grade vicious beast, the Burning Sky Sparrow. Just this Burning Sky Sparrow alone could kill a 3-star Bitter Sea stage expert. Beside Lu Aotian were 2 old men at the 7 stars of the Bitter Sea stage and above. They were the Tao protectors that ancient Lulan had given him. They were loyal and devoted, and their chi and blood were vigorous. They were incomparably tyrannical. Flaming Cloud City's city lord, Hua Xiao, Hua family's patriarch, Hua Qingtian, and Grand Elder, Hua Feng, had all arrived outside Flaming Cloud City to welcome them. Lu Outyan's face was cold and indifferent. He had a jade-like face and a vigorous body. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and he held the Heaven Observation Sword in his hand. He stood out like a crane among chickens. His cultivation had already reached the 3rd level of the Bitter Sea stage, and was one of the best of the younger generation of the entire Owl Falling Star. Flaming Cloud City's city lord Hua Xiao greets Your Highness the Crown Prince. The Hua clan's patriarch, Hua Qingtian, welcomes Your Highness on behalf of the Hua clan. Flaming Cloud City's Chun family welcomes Your Highness the Crown Prince. Almost all the major factions of Flaming Cloud City had come, giving Lu Outyan enough face. It was clear how much prestige he had in Lulan. Thank you for your hospitality. I am tired from the recent journey. I will visit you one by one another day. Lu Outyan said indifferently with cupped fists. Your Highness is too courteous. If you can step into the humble class, we will definitely welcome you. Everyone echoed. City Lord Hua Xiao, please bring me to the inn. Lu Outyan looked disdainfully at everyone, proudly stepping on the Burning Sky Sparrow. But it made people feel that he was born with the bearing of a king. There was not the slightest feeling of discomfort. Yes, Your Highness. Hua Xiao's face was rosy, extremely excited. Outside Flaming Cloud City, there were many cultivators and commoners, just to see Lu Outyan's face. Yi Qinghan looked from afar, his eyes like torches. He discovered that this person was indeed an invincible expert of the younger generation. Although he was only at the 3rd level of the Bitter Sea stage, he was absolutely comparable to the 5th star of the Bitter Sea stage. Ha ha ha, Lu Outyan, I did not expect you to come earlier than me. A flame shot out from the void, sweeping in all directions. A huge pressure shrouded Flaming Cloud City, and a dense evil aura made people's hair stand on end. Even the Hua family's patriarch was shaken. Lu Outyan squinted his eyes and looked into the distance. His fingers moved the heaven-observing sword. Sword chi crisscrossed and battle intent overflowed. It's Xian Wuyu, old demon Shifeng's eldest disciple. He can actually fly. Is he already a Grotto Heaven stage expert? No, impossible. He was only at the 4th star of the Bitter Sea stage a while ago. How old is he? 27 or 28 years old. How can he be at the Grotto Heaven stage? This guy is not to be trifled with. With a Grotto Heaven stage expert as his backer, he can run amok in Owl Falling Star. In addition, he has an invincible battle strength. Only someone like Lu Outyan can stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Everyone discussed animatedly. their expressions changing slightly. The Hua family's patriarch bowed, extremely humble. Yi Qinghan frowned, a sense of vigilance surging from his heart. He stared at the scarlet-red wings on Xian Wuyu's back, like a phoenix, and said in a low voice, "I did not expect Owl Falling Star to have a 5th-grade True Spirit Dao wing." The cultivation technique he cultivates is similar to the demonic path. A terrifying king of the younger generation. Even in Owl Dragon region, he can be ranked at the top. Why would he appear in such a small city? The aura of Flaming Cloud City changed, becoming oppressive. More and more experts gathered, and those at the peak of the Blood Ignition realm had to leave with their tails between their legs. Bitter Sea Stage experts were everywhere, as if all the Bitter Sea Stage experts on Owl Falling Star had come. Boom! Heaven and earth suddenly roared. A figure swept across the sky, and a pressure suppressed the momentum of heaven and earth. Flaming Cloud City fell to their knees, and Lu Outyin and Xian Wuyu were intimidated, bowing slightly. Grotto Heaven Stage. A Grotto Heaven Stage expert had appeared. What was ancient Lulan auctioning this time? Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank slightly, the pressure in his heart growing stronger and stronger. He felt that something was targeting him. As expected, Zhu Sheng, who had just left, hurried to the side of the courtyard. Yi Qinghan leapt, rushing over from a nearby mountain. Looking at Zhu Sheng's pale face, he asked in a serious voice, "What happened?" "There's news about you, very bad news," Zhu Sheng said in a low voice. "What news? Speak," Yi Qinghan said coldly. "Someone offered 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals to take your life, and 500 low-grade spirit crystals to take the lives of Yi Mengxi and the Wang family. It should be related to you." Zhu Sheng stared at Yi Qinghan, discovering that there was an ominous glint in Yi Qinghan's eyes. Even a 4-star Bitter Sea Stage expert like him was shocked. He felt that everything within 100 meters had been imprisoned, and it was extremely difficult to even move. "Gotcha!" Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fist, killing intent bursting out. The cold and lonely aura was unbearable, and Zhu Sheng retreated several steps. "Who offered 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals?" Yi Qinghan was puzzled. He did not seem to have offended any super existence. So how could someone offer 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals? This was not 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. The exchange rate of middle-grade spirit crystals for low-grade spirit crystals was 100. 100,000 low-grade spirit crystals was enough to make experts at the peak of the Bitter Sea Stage go crazy. As for the 500 low-grade spirit crystals, it should have been paid by Situ Yunxiao's death soldiers. Yi Qinghan was not too worried. Those who would be interested in 500 spirit crystals were at most in the Blood Ignition realm. He believed that Yi Mengxi could protect herself and the Wang family, not to mention Jian Qinxue was by her side. Shueisha. This killing order is the ultimate killing order issued by Shueisha. They will not rest until you die, Zhu Sheng said in a low voice. Shueisha. Yi Qinghan's brows tightened. He could roughly guess that Shueisha wanted to establish their power. In these years, Shueisha had never been defeated, but they had been defeated by him twice. Furthermore, their employer had been killed. The higher-ups of Shueisha must be furious to offer such a high price to kill him. "I know. From today onwards, we will contact each other. I will look for you, so don't come looking for me again. Tell Hua Feier and her sister to go to the Hua family. Don't stay here anymore." Yi Qinghan turned and left, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. A Grotto Heaven Realm expert came from outside the city. The patriarch of the Hua family bowed and bent his knees, sweat dripping down his face, and his breathing rapid. Ao Tian greets Senior Nangong. Xian Wuyu greets Martial Uncle Nangong. The two young talents bowed slightly, neither servile nor overbearing, and revealed the origin of the newcomer. In the entire Owl Falling Star, there were not many people with the surname Nangong. There was only one person at the Grotto Heaven Realm, Nangong Shinfeng. He had already reached the second step of the Grotto Heaven Realm, the Heaven Dance Realm. Even the monarch of ancient Lulan had to be courteous to him. Nangong Shinfeng coldly glanced at the two and said in a hoarse voice, "What? Are you two juniors here for that thing as well?" Senior. Treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Whether or not one can obtain them depends on one's ability and luck. I'm confident in my luck, so I came to try. If I can obtain it, then that's good. But if I can't, then I won't force it. Lu Outyin said indifferently. Haha, Martial Uncle Nangong. My master told me to come and take a look. He said that there is a fortune for me here. But it could also be a nightmare. So I came to take a look. If it's mine, then it's mine. If it's not mine, then it should be mine in the end. Martial Uncle won't fight with me over it, right? Xian Wuyu's eyes flickered with a dark light. Ignorant. Nangong Shinfeng sneered and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He turned and left, ignoring the Hua family. Hua Feng and the others were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. After all, the Hua family didn't have a grotto heaven expert. Brother Xian, I heard that more than 5 of the top 10 young kings of Al Falling Star will come. Let's have a gathering in a few days. If you're interested, you can come and help me. Lu Outyin said indifferently. I don't like to be restricted by others, so I'll pass. I've accepted a mission this time, so I won't talk to you anymore. See you at the auction, Xian Wuyu said with disdain. How could someone like him join the ancient Lulan Crown Prince's camp? Mission? Are you talking about Shueisha's bounty order? He's also in Flaming Cloud City. Lu Outyin was stunned and asked in a low voice. What? A high and mighty crown prince like you wants to accept a mission? This mission is definitely mine. You better not interfere. Xian Wuyu warned coldly. Xian Wuyu didn't hide anything and targeted Yi Qinghan. The true spirit Dao wings on his back suddenly spread out and dyed half the sky red. Chapter 60. Flaming Cloud City, however, was like falling into an ice cave. It was so cold that it was unbearable. Experts of the blood ignition realm did not dare to be impudent. All the super geniuses of ancient Lulan, and even the geniuses of Owl Falling Star had arrived. They were all at the first star of the Bitter Sea stage. Lu Outyin and Xian Wuyu were already at the 3rd or 4th level of the Bitter Sea stage. On the day Leisure appeared, he went straight to Hua Feier's courtyard where Yi Qinghan was. Unfortunately, it was empty. Yi Qinghan was not there, and even Hua Feier and Hua Yaer were not there. Yi Qinghan was dressed in a black robe, with a bamboo hat on his head. The 7-foot berserker was wrapped in a layer of cloth. His aura was restrained, making him mysterious. Standing at the top of the mountain, and looking at the courtyard, watching Xian Wuyu's departing figure, his brows furrowed. This Xian Wuyu was definitely an elite of the younger generation. With the addition of the 5th grade True Spirit Dao wings, he could fly at the Bitter Sea stage. This kind of person was already invincible in the Bitter Sea stage. Even he could not withstand Xian Wuyu's protracted battle of attrition. The Blood Fiends, in order to save their reputation, are willing to pay such a huge price. Yi Qinghan muttered. Seeing Xian Wuyu leave, he once again returned to the courtyard. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is also the safest place. Master, we may not be able to move an inch from now on, the parrot said helplessly. Berserker opens the way. Those who block the way will be killed. To me, there is no difference, Yi Qinghan said coldly. Yi Qinghan burned pills in the courtyard, madly cultivating. His true yuan was exhausted time and time again. Like a flood, it erupted again. His body was refined time and time again, becoming stronger and stronger. The purity of his true yuan also became higher and higher. There was a lot of progress. The next day, Yi Qinghan took advantage of the fact that the sky was still dark to come to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. Zhu Xing saw Yi Qinghan inexplicably appear in his room, and felt a chill run down his spine. Elder's movement technique is good. I am a 4-star Bitter Sea stage expert, but I did not notice how you came to my room, Zhu Xing said respectfully. What price has the Lingbao Pavilion decided to pay for the martial skills? Yi Qinghan asked directly. Elder Yi, I can't make the decision on this matter. However, the Elder Pavilion has already sent someone over. They will arrive this afternoon, Zhu Xing said in a low voice. Okay, got it. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly and asked again. Where did Qin Zheng take Yi Mingxi and Wang Shi? The Elder Cabinet has personally sent someone to welcome them. They have already arrived at the headquarters in Qingzhou. You can rest assured that Yi Qinghan, Yi Mingxi, Wang Shi, and Jin Qinshu are absolutely safe. Zhu Xing promised solemnly. fearing that Yi Qinghan would not be satisfied. After Yi Qinghan learned of Yi Mengxi's location, he chose a private room to rest and quietly waited for the elders of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to arrive. In the afternoon, a faint pressure came from outside the Lingbao Hall. It was very weak and low-key. If not for Yi Qinghan's vigilance, he would not have noticed it. Grotto Heaven Realm. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion actually sent a Grotto Heaven Realm expert to trade. It seems that they are very vigilant. However, I have to be on guard against any sneak attacks. Yi Qinghan held the saber core in his hand and could release a thunderous force at any time. Whoever wanted to sneak attack would be instantly killed by him. Dong dong dong. A few crisp knocks on the door broke the silence of the private room. Mr. Yi, Elder Qin wants to see you, Zhu Sheng said respectfully. Come in. Yi Qinghan stood up and looked at the white-haired old man, who pushed the door open and entered. He was somewhat similar to Qin Zheng. His eyebrows were straight, and his aura was very strong. His pure eyes shot out a light that made people submit to him. However, the vigilance in his heart did not relax. After all, one may know a person for a long time without knowing his true nature. Mr. Yi, I am Qin Shan, Qin Jing's father and the third elder of the Qin clan. I am here to trade with you on behalf of the Qin clan. The old man said in a low voice. Can you make all the decisions? Yi Qinghan asked in a serious voice. Of course, Mr. Yi is a divine talent. My son has always told me that you are the reincarnation of a great being. Although I don't believe in reincarnation, but my son worships you so much. He must have his reasons. I believe that Mr. Yi will not deceive the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Qin Shan stared at Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan smiled slightly. No matter how much Qin Shan believed in him, he still had to demonstrate the cultivation technique and explain its power and main points. Only then could he sell the cultivation technique at the highest price. Otherwise, no matter how much he said, Qin Shan would not buy it. Zhu Sheng, arrange a cultivation room for me. A cultivation room that can support the attacks of the Bitter Sea stage. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Hearing this, Zhu Sheng hurriedly brought Yi Qinghan and Qin Shan to the central area of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. This was a room that had been specially remodeled. It could support the attacks of experts at the 5 stars of the Bitter Sea stage. The formations inside were in a cycle that could not be broken unless one was at the heavenly cave. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, indicating for Zhu Sheng to leave. Looking at the 18 types of weapons in the cultivation room, he could not help but nod his head in satisfaction. For the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to be able to reach this step, it was not a coincidence. It was because the requirements for one's own strength were extremely frightening. Xiao, a low-grade metal sword was grabbed by Yi Qinghan through the air. Holding it in his hand, the ordinary metal weapon became incomparably majestic in his hand. The sword qi was unstoppable, as if it was about to rush into Qin Shan's body. Qin Jing's pupils shrank. Just from Yi Qinghan's move, everything was clear. Ordinary people would not be able to do this. 9-sword style, a 4th-grade martial technique. It is an offensive secret technique with unparalleled offensive power. It can be cultivated to the 4th step of the Heavenly Cave stage. If one is of the younger generation with great talent, they can use this secret technique to comprehend the way of the sword. Yi Qinghan held the metal sword, like a sharp sword that could tear apart the heavens and earth, proudly standing between the mortal world. A total of 9 swords. The first sword drawing style. Yi Qinghan suddenly drew his sword. The ordinary metal sword actually emitted sword qi. The sword force rose. The sword was like a rainbow, piercing straight towards Qin Shan. Its speed was extremely fast, causing Qin Shan's hair to stand on end. His figure hurriedly retreated, quickly leaving his original position. He barely dodged Yi Qinghan's attack, but a strand of hair fluttered down, causing him to be shocked. What a fast sword drawing style! Qin Shan looked at Yi Qinghan cautiously, afraid that he would use the second sword. The second sword raising style. Whooshed out, a cold light flashed, causing Qin Shan's eyes to feel a piercing pain. It was as if his eyes were pierced by the sword qi. He subconsciously tried to block it, but he realized that this sword had at least 10,000 pounds of force. Looking at the power of Yi Qinghan's casual attack, although it seemed simple, it contained countless techniques and explosive power. The nine-sword style was definitely one of the best fourth-grade martial techniques. A normal metal sword has such power. If it was supported by a fourth-grade martial technique, I might be able to fight against a third-step Heavenly Cave stage martial artist, Hidden Dragon stage martial artist. Qin Shan's face was flushed red. He was also at the second step of Heavenly Cave stage, Heaven Dance steps, similar to Nangong Shenfeng. Unfortunately, his martial technique was too weak, so he had been hidden away by the Qin family. The sixth sword, collapsing sword style. The ninth sword, returning sword style. After the ninth sword, Qin Zheng clenched his fists tightly, unable to control his excitement. Mr. Yi, how many spirit crystals is this nine-sword style worth? Qin Shan asked excitedly. 50,000 middle-grade spirit crystals, non-negotiable. Yi Qinghan said calmly as he sheathed his sword. 50,000 middle-grade spirit crystals was not expensive. In history, there had been cases where a fourth-grade martial technique was auctioned off, and the price was more than 50,000 middle-grade spirit crystals. However, Yi Qinghan was not suitable for auctioning these things, so he could only sell them to the Qin family. All right, I'll buy it. Qin Shan said without hesitation. How many spirit crystals did you bring? Yi Qinghan asked seriously. 100,000 middle-grade spirit crystals, and 3 million lower-grade spirit crystals. Qin Shan said quickly. 100,000 middle-grade spirit crystals, and 3 million lower-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and decided to buy them all. He also found a few fourth-grade martial techniques, and 7 or 8 third-grade martial techniques for Qin Shan. They were definitely the best of the best. Lingbao Pavilion had definitely profited from this. Qin Shan was getting more and more excited. He looked at Yi Qinghan, as if he was a treasure trove, constantly spitting out super secret techniques. His eyes were getting brighter and brighter. Mr. Yi, do you have any fifth-grade martial techniques for sale? Lingbao Pavilion will buy it even if we have to sell everything we have. Qin Shan's eyes were filled with anticipation. There was no fifth-grade martial technique in the entire Alfal Star. Whether it was a fifth-grade martial technique or a fifth-grade sect, this was a dividing line. An ordinary fifth-grade martial technique. It's not the best. It's only a lower-grade martial technique. How many upper-grade spirit crystals can you offer? Yi Qinghan asked calmly. These things were useless to him, so he might as well collect some upper-grade spirit crystals. There really is a fifth-grade martial technique. Qin Shan was shocked speechless. Although he asked if there were any fifth-grade martial techniques for sale, he did not have much hope. After all, a fifth-grade martial technique was different from a fourth-grade martial technique. It was not something that could be bought anywhere. I only have one fifth-grade martial technique. It's called Great Floating Cloud Hand. A floating cloud will fall from the sky. It can seal the sky and crack the earth. If you can afford it, I'll sell it to you for 100,000 upper-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan said calmly. The Great Floating Cloud Hand was not a valuable martial technique. A real fifth-grade sect would not be interested in this martial technique, because its power might not even be as good as a fourth-grade martial technique. However, it was a genuine fifth-grade martial technique. Many people in the other main stars of the Alfal Star region were practicing this martial technique, so no one would associate it with him. 100,000 upper-grade spirit crystals. Qin Zheng's face changed slightly. The entire Lingbao Pavilion did not have that many upper-grade spirit crystals. If they were to sell all of them at once, and they could not find the spirit crystal mine in time, the Lingbao Pavilion would have a cash flow problem, and could easily go bankrupt. I'll give you the 9-sword style, and the other rank 4, and rank 3 martial skills first. Pay me 100,000 middle spiritual crystals first. As for the rank 5 martial skills, if you can't gather 100,000 middle spiritual crystals by the time the auction starts, then we'll call it a day. Yi Qinghan stared at Qin Shan with an intimidating gaze. There are still 7 days left. I'll do it right away. Qin Shan did not even want to look at the fifth-grade martial technique. After paying 100,000 middle-grade spirit crystals and 1,000,000 lower-grade spirit crystals, Yi Qinghan transferred all of the martial technique's memories into his mind. His face was flushed and he was extremely excited. Is he really the reincarnation of an almighty person? I'm afraid that even a 5th-grade sect might not have these martial techniques. Qin Shan muttered in his heart. He did not dare to have any evil thoughts. After all, Qin Zheng had told him not to offend Yi Qinghan before he came. I will be here for the next few days. I hope you can come back before the auction starts. Yi Qinghan said as he put away the saber core. Mr. Yi, the head of the Qing clan will come personally in 5 days at most. Even if we have to join forces with other clans, we must get this 5th-grade martial technique. Who knows, maybe it can let the Lingbao Pavilion become a 5th-grade sect. Qin Shan said excitedly. No, I don't want my identity to be exposed. I don't trust any other clan except the Qin clan. Especially at this time, I don't want Shueisha to go crazy and keep an eye on me. Yi Qinghan quickly rejected Qin Shan's suggestion. Chapter 61. The night in Flaming Cloud City had become a little restless. Many heroes had come in droves and would start fighting over a single word of disagreement. Yi Qinghan was deep in the center of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. He was not disturbed, but the pressure was getting stronger. Many people from the Blood Fiends had already appeared. Their cultivation was above the 4th star of the Bitter Sea stage. There are more and more people. It is not good for me. I cannot let them gather together. I have to take the initiative to attack. Yi Qinghan revealed a cold smile. Assassination, who could be better than him? After muttering to himself, Yi Qinghan wore a black bamboo hat and black clothes. He carried the 7 feet heavy sword on his back and held the blood-red dagger he took from Marugi. He quietly left the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. At the inn of Flaming Cloud City, Lu Outyin brought 2 protectors to check in. They were surrounded by a large number of Fire Qilin army. It was difficult for anyone to get close. Lu Outyin stood at the top of the building, looking down at the land. His eyes were serious. As the Crown Prince of Lulan, he knew that Flaming Cloud City was at the heart of the struggle. Old Chun, help me investigate the news about Yi Qinghan. See if he is in Flaming Cloud City. Lu Outyin said in a low voice. A protector respectfully left. Only an old man was left. He looked at Lu Outyin and asked, Your Highness, are you going to take him in or kill him for the reward? I want to try taking him in. To be able to get the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to protect him, and for the Blood Fiends to kill him at all costs. He should not be a simple character. If I can keep him by my side, he may be useful. Lu Outyin said indifferently. I don't think it's worth it. Right now many young experts have come to Flaming Cloud City. I reckon that most of them are here to kill Yi Qinghan. You might be inviting trouble for yourself. The old man reminded him in a deep voice. I know. I am just giving it a try. If I can succeed, then I will. If I can't, then I will not force it. Now is a time of trouble. I hope to fight for more talents for Lulan. Lu Aotian gazed at the night sky. Looking at the sea of people on the street, a vigorous figure attracted his attention. The black-clothed man was carrying a weapon that was almost as tall as a person. The weapon was wrapped in linen, so it was impossible to tell what kind of weapon it was. He was holding a black dagger in his hand. There was no powerful aura coming from him, but it made him feel threatened. With the bamboo hat covering his face, Lu Outyin furrowed his brows. Many young experts had come to Flaming Cloud City, so it wasn't strange for him to be dressed like this. He would never have guessed that this person was the Yi Qinghan he was looking for. Firecloud Tavern was brightly lit. Originally, there weren't many people staying here, but today, it was packed to the brim. In a few more days, there might not even be a single room left. In the restaurant downstairs, there were 3 to 5 people sitting at a table. Some of them were independent and cold, but most of them were chatting and drinking, as if there was no one else around. The auction house is holding such a big auction this time. I heard that there are many good things. So many people have come this time. I'm afraid there won't be any benefits for us. But I heard that Yi Qinghan is in Flaming Cloud City. If we can kill him, 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals is not a small amount. Even Shueisha couldn't kill him. Are you sure you can? Even if you can kill him, can you find him? I heard that Yi Qinghan is very easy to recognize. His weapon is a 7-foot-long battle blade, and he also has a white parrot. As long as he appears, I'm afraid he won't be able to leave Flaming Cloud City. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. They were all very interested in the 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals. The majority of them were at the Bitter Sea stage, and some experts were close to the 6 stars of the Bitter Sea stage. Their individual battle strength was not inferior to Yi Qinghan. Once he was surrounded, it would be very easy for Yi Qinghan to fall in a prolonged battle. Yi Qinghan appeared in the inn with the heavy berserk blade on his back. His cold aura instantly attracted the attention of many people, especially the weapon wrapped in sackcloth on his back. It was even more suspicious, but the black short sword in his hand dispelled their doubts. Is he from Shueisha? Some experts stared at the short sword in Yi Qinghan's hand. They were no longer clamoring, and their voices lowered by a few levels. The inn suddenly quieted down. Many people's gazes were locked onto Yi Qinghan. Show the weapon on your back. Put your bamboo hat aside. A cold voice was filled with a commanding tone, making it impossible for people to refuse. Then, a cold figure walked down from upstairs, causing everyone to be completely speechless. Xian Wuyu, he actually wants to attack Yi Qinghan. It seems like there's nothing for us to do. Everyone thought to themselves. They all looked at the black-clothed Yi Qinghan and Xian Wuyu. Xian Wuyu, it's not good for you to stretch your hands too far. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and extremely low. He found a seat and sat down, replying coldly. My hands have always been very long. Everyone in the world knows that. If you don't want to die, let me dispel my doubts. Otherwise, even if you're from Shueisha, I'll kill you today. Xian Wuyu said coldly, holding a cold and sharp long sword. Is that so? If you have the ability, then come and try. Yi Qinghan placed the weapon on his back on the table, and said casually to the waiter, Bring me a few dishes of your specialty. The atmosphere in the inn became extremely oppressive. Xian Wuyu's sharp gaze swept over Yi Qinghan. His fingers moved the hilt of his sword, and he pressed forward, wanting to lift the sackcloth. Dong dong dong. A few crisp footsteps broke the silence of the inn. The waiter was so frightened that he retreated, not daring to get close to the center of the inn. Lu Outyin appeared in the inn with his Dao protector, and said indifferently, This Dao friend is not Yi Qinghan. Xian Wuyu, do you think everyone is Yi Qinghan? Whether I am Yi Qinghan or not, you don't have the final say. I do. Xian Wuyu didn't give any face. So what if he was the crown prince of Lulan? As long as his cultivation wasn't as high as his, he wouldn't even bother with him. Xian Wuyu, don't be too arrogant. This is Flaming Cloud City, not your home. If you dare to make a move in the center of the city, don't blame me for being impolite. Lu Outyin warned coldly. Ha ha ha, Lu Outyin, you better not interfere in today's matter. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you face. Xian Wuyu sneered. Yi Qinghan was very calm. His handsome face under the bamboo hat didn't show any emotion. His fingertips tapped on the table, causing the blood thorn to vibrate slightly. In the inn, everyone was very quiet, waiting for the confrontation between Yi Qinghan and Xian Wuyu. Xian Wuyu looked coldly at Yi Qinghan. Seeing that Yi Qinghan didn't move, Xian Wuyu was furious. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he reached out to grab the weapon on Yi Qinghan's back. Yi Qinghan pulled out his sword. The blood thorn flashed, and the bloodlight pierced towards Xian Wuyu's throat. Its speed was extremely fast, making it impossible for anyone to react. CSI. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Seeing Yi Qinghan make a move without any warning, and with such shocking power, they couldn't help but be alarmed. Xian Wuyu wasn't an ordinary person. He had a Grotto Heaven Realm expert behind him. His strength was also at the peak of Alfal's star. Yi Qinghan taking the initiative to make a move would be troublesome. You're courting death. Xian Wuyu was furious. Up until now, no one had dared to sneak attack him and go against his will. However, in front of Yi Qinghan, all rules were broken. Seeing that the blood thorn was about to pierce his throat, Xian Wuyu couldn't care less about his dignity and flew out of the inn. Swish! The true spirit Dao wings spread out and swept away the debris in the surroundings. Many blood ignition realm experts were directly sent flying by Xian Wuyu. Lu Outyan's pupil shrunk. Yi Qinghan's sword drawing speed was so fast that even he was shocked. He thought to himself, what a terrifying sword drawing style. Sword chi gathered without dissipating, restrained without releasing, and released with ease. He's definitely a top expert of the younger generation. After Xian Wuyu fell out of the inn, Yi Qinghan didn't move at all. He directly sheathed his sword while his divine sense enveloped the entire inn. Anyone with hostility would be his target tonight. Courting death bastard. I don't care if you're Yi Qinghan. Die for me. Xian Wuyu rushed back into the inn, stabbing back with his sword. Sword chi swept out, almost destroying the entire inn. Xian Wuyu, are you crazy? Stop right now. Lu Outyan saw Xian Wuyu rush back without any fear and directly attacked. His heaven observation sword easily blocked Xian Wuyu. Boom! The two swords attacked together, deafening. The true spirit Dao wings on Xian Wuyu's back exerted force, and Lu Outyan was forced back several steps before stabilizing his footing. Scram! Lu Outyan, if you dare attack again, don't blame me for falling out with you today. Xian Wuyu's fierce gaze swept over Lu Outyan, then fixed on the still calm Yi Qinghan. This is ancient Lolan's flaming cloud city. No bitter sea experts are allowed to attack in the center of the city. This is the rule. As the current crown prince, if I don't stop you, who will respect the rules of Lulan in the future? Lu Outyan retracted his sword and glared at Xian Wuyu coldly, saying, if you want to fight, I'll accompany you outside the city. Fine, you're not allowed to attack in the city. I won't argue with you. Let's see how long this brat can hide. Xian Wuyu looked coldly at Yi Qinghan's back, his killing intent evident. Yi Qinghan was indifferent. His consciousness covered the entire inn. No one's actions could escape his eyes. Suddenly, a table of people attracted his attention. There were a total of 4 people. Everyone's cultivation was not inferior to the bitter sea stage. Their aura was very similar to one person. That was Marugi. People of Blood Fiend. Yi Qinghan's heart sank, gripping the blood thorn tightly. The 4 people of Blood Fiend also noticed Yi Qinghan. The 4 of them looked at each other and shook their heads. Looking at the blood thorn in Yi Qinghan's hand, they frowned. You test him. A Blood Fiend assassin with a slightly higher cultivation said to the person beside him. A Blood Fiend expert stood up, arriving in front of Yi Qinghan. He clasped his fists and asked, blood descends on the world. The Blood Fiend's secret signal should be blood extermination in all directions. Only the high-ranking members of the Blood Fiend organization knew this. Yi Qinghan did not know this, so the 4 members of Blood Fiend quickly confirmed Yi Qinghan's identity. There was a blood thorn, but he was not a member of Blood Fiend. It had to be Yi Qinghan, because the only blood thorn that was exposed was the one in Marugi's hand. However, the people of Blood Fiend did not expose Yi Qinghan, because they wanted to take the reward for themselves. Yi Qinghan clenched the blood thorn in his hand. He was not too surprised. At this time, the probability of encountering Blood Fiend in Flaming Cloud City was too high. Blood Fiend wanted to kill him, but he also wanted to kill Blood Fiend. Tonight, the city would be dyed red with blood. Corpses would be everywhere, and the aura of death would spread. Yi Qinghan casually ate some food, then stepped out of the inn. Many people stood up and followed him out. Chapter 62. Yi Qinghan's figure was faintly discernible. Taking advantage of the darkness of the night, he left Flaming Cloud City in half an hour. Behind him were at least tens of bitter sea experts, and tens of self-confident experts, at the peak of the blood ignition realm. Xian Wuyu sneered, sword in hand. Spreading his wings, he soared into the clouds, looking down at Yi Qinghan. His divine sense had locked onto him. Today, even if Yi Qinghan fled to the ends of the earth, he would not be able to escape from his grasp. Lu Outyan revealed a puzzled expression. For Yi Qinghan to leave the city at this time, was he not seeking death? Old Shui, have you seen through the background of this person? Is it Yi Qinghan? Lu Outyan asked seriously. I can't tell. According to my estimation, this person should not be Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan uses a 7-foot-long blade, and this person's sword path is extremely powerful. Without 100 years of sword cultivation, it would be very difficult to display such a terrifying sword path. Lu Lan does not have such a sword path genius. Old Shui, who was following beside Lu Outyin, said in a low voice. Let's follow him. If the other party is not Yi Qinghan, we must protect him. Lu Outyin took a step forward, his figure moving like the stars, quickly leaving Flaming Cloud City. The night of Flaming Cloud City was so perfect. The scarlet-red maple forest outside the city, under the illumination of the moonlight, seemed to be burning. When the wind blew, it rose up and down, like a sea of fire. Yi Qinghan was like a ghost, entering the maple forest and disappearing without a trace. The bitter sea experts who followed him looked at each other, then increased their speed, and followed into the maple forest. The majestic maple forest stretched as far as the eye could see, towering into the clouds. The tall mountains rose up and down, submerging the tens of people in the blink of an eye. High up in the air, Xian Wuyu's eyes were like an eagle's, sharp and fierce. His divine sense and eyes locked onto Yi Qinghan's figure at the same time. But suddenly, Yi Qinghan disappeared, disappearing from his sight without a reason. Even his divine sense could not lock onto him. How could he disappear for no reason? Xian Wuyu was shocked. He flapped his wings and looked down at the maple forest from above, searching for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan used the extreme Dao divine dragon steps, and in the blink of an eye, he was already more than 10 miles away. He hid in the mountains and swallowed a large amount of third-grade spirit dawn to replenish his Zhen Yuan. Then he climbed up a mountain and expanded his divine sense. The bamboo hat was flung away, and a devilishly handsome face revealed a murderous intent. The game has just begun. Since you followed me out, you must learn how to welcome the arrival of death. Yi Qinghan gripped his bloodthorn dagger tightly as he tried his best to avoid Leisure. After all, the only person who could pose a threat to him was Leisure. Leisure chased him further and further into the depths of Maple Leaf Forest, while Yi Qinghan turned around and pounced behind him. Yi Qinghan stuck close to a maple tree, waiting for the first prey to appear. Sha sha sha. A middle-aged man around 3 stars of the Bitter Sea stage held a sharp sword in his hand, looking left and right. He was incomparably cautious and suppressed his breathing. He did not know that he, who was originally a hunter, had become Yi Qinghan's prey. Yi Qinghan's divine sense locked onto the newcomer. He stood motionless behind the tree, using his divine sense to look at the newcomer. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and the bloodthorn dagger in his hand began to move. 10 steps, 8 steps. The newcomer was extremely cautious and vigilant, but how could he discover Yi Qinghan? Unless their eyes met. Otherwise, with Yi Qinghan's ability to restrain his aura, even a heavenly passage stage expert would not be able to discover him unless they saw him with their own eyes. The Bitter Sea stage expert had just passed by the maple tree, and before he could even turn his head, Yi Qinghan had already circled behind him, without causing the slightest ripple in the air. Poochie! The entire bloodthorn dagger completely sank into the neck of the newcomer. The dense murderous aura destroyed everything in its path, crushing the opponent's life force. The 3 stars of the Bitter Sea stage expert did not even have time to let out a groan before his body went limp and fell to the ground. Yi Qinghan casually took away the Qianquan ring and threw the corpse onto a tree branch. His figure flashed, disappearing from where he was. No one would have thought that this game of hunting would become a script of being killed one by the prey. Yi Qinghan hid in a large tree, watching the 2 experts coming together. He did not have the slightest bit of fear, his blood boiling, his will to battle burning. Since he had decided to kill, then he might as well let go of his hand and fight. The 2 experts were both at the Bitter Sea stage. Although their cultivation level was not very high, but they were very vigilant. They should be adventurers who had been traveling for many years, and their desire for spirit crystals far exceeded that of others. Second brother, as long as we get rid of Yi Qinghan, we can split the spirit crystals equally. With 500 spirit crystals as capital, we don't have to roam around the dangerous forest all day. That's right, let's set up a shop. Don't be too happy. With 100,000 low-grade spirit crystals, With our strength, we might be able to establish a dynasty. At that time, ha ha ha. The two people laughed arrogantly. Their laughter was somewhat wretched, as if Yi Qinghan had already been killed by them. Yi Qinghan sneered, taking out the knife core and inserting it into the heavy berserk blade. His aura suddenly rose, and the blade cut through the shackles. Roar! The heavy berserk blade attacked, the tiger roared and the dragon roared. Who could fight against it? Ah, Poochie! The two people's bodies were swallowed by the heavy berserk blade at the same time, their vitality instantly destroyed. A mist of blood sprayed onto the fiery red maple leaves, incomparably eerie. The two people's screams alarmed everyone, and they frantically rushed over. But by the time they arrived, there were only two corpses lying flat on the ground, their fingers pressed on the hilt of their swords. It was obvious that they had been killed before they could make a move. It's a blade wound. That person is Yi Qinghan. Quickly find him. That's 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals. Someone squatted down and carefully examined the wounds on the two people's bodies. Instead of being shocked, he was delighted. Hua! Everyone was instantly excited, but some people were already afraid. To kill two experts with a single blade, and they were both at the 3rd star of the Bitter Sea stage. Even if they were not invincible experts of the same level, but they were still at the Bitter Sea stage. Yi Qinghan stood in the distance, overlooking the crowd, and said in a low voice, "The prelude to death has only just begun." In order to find Yi Qinghan, the crowd gradually dispersed. They all wanted to quickly find Yi Qinghan and earn the 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan transformed into a ghost, pouncing from the side, and began the most cruel hunt. Everywhere he went, there was a mess, and miserable screams could be heard. By the time everyone reacted, they could only find a few corpses, and could not find the shadow of Yi Qinghan. Fuck, is this guy a ghost? Let's join hands. This guy is not simply at the peak of the blood ignition realm. His strength is definitely comparable to an invincible king at the 3rd star of the Bitter Sea stage. Everyone was shocked and gathered together, not daring to be left alone. Xian Wuyu's figure flashed, rushing back from the depths. His face was cold, and he did not look well. He felt that he had been played. Until now, they had not even caught the shadow of Yi Qinghan. Did anyone see the person who attacked? Was it the person wearing the bamboo hat? Xian Wuyu asked coldly. Reporting to young Master Xian, "We did not see who attacked, but it should be that person." Some people respectfully replied, "A bunch of trash." Xian Wuyu was incomparably angry. He clenched his fists, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Then he said coldly, "Disperse, I want to see who attacked." Ah, disperse, this is very dangerous. Some people were unhappy. If they were to disperse now, wouldn't it be giving Yi Qinghan a chance to attack? But in Xian Wuyu's eyes, these people were bait. Being able to help him draw out Yi Qinghan was their greatest advantage. Humph, you all had better disperse. I don't want to talk nonsense. Xian Wuyu coldly snorted, his killing intent radiating. His divine sense locked onto everyone, and the true spirit Dao wings on his back flapped in the sky. Everyone looked at Xian Wuyu's gloomy face, but they did not dare to disobey. After all, Xian Wuyu's strength was far above theirs, and with the true spirit Dao wings, it would not be difficult for him to kill them all. Lu Outyin stood in the distance, his brows furrowed into a line. The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled into a faint smile as he watched Xian Wuyu fly back from the depths. He grabbed the parrot, who was hiding in his bosom, and said, "Go and lure him to the deepest part of the cave. I'll play with him a bit. I'll come and find you after I've dealt with these people. He's very fast." The parrot was somewhat unwilling. Faster than my fist? Yi Qinghan looked at the parrot's fearful appearance and wished he could slap it to death. Alright, it seems this divine bird really needs to lose weight. The parrot shrugged and flew wildly under the tree. After an incense stick's worth of time, it suddenly looked up and shouted, "Trash, this divine bird is going." Whoosh! The parrot turned into a bolt of white lightning, rushing into the depths of the forest. Its speed was superb, comparable to Yi Qinghan's peak speed. Of course, this was under the condition that he did not use the extreme Dao divine dragon steps. Xian Wuyu's mouth twitched. This was the first time he had been called trash, and by a beast at that. When he saw the white parrot, he immediately knew that it was Yi Qinghan's lowly bird. He could not help but spread his true spirit Dao wings to chase after it. "You're courting death." Xian Wuyu's sword pierced through the sky, cutting down dozens of ancient trees. His sword chi was unstoppable. "Aya. Fuck, are you trying to kill your own father?" The parrot's butt shrank, and like a rocket, it broke through the void and dodged Xian Wuyu's attack. Xian Wuyu was furious. He had actually been played by a lowly bird. His huge flaming wings swept the sky, and a gale blew wildly, almost reversing time and space. "Bastard, stop right there," Leisure bellowed. "Fuck. Do I have to stop just because you tell me to? Then I'll lose face." The parrot disdainfully rushed into the depths without looking back. Xian Wuyu chased after the parrot, and the bitter sea experts on the periphery had already separated. Yi Qinghan seized the opportunity and pounced in one direction. His long blade was out, and his power was astonishing. His speed was extremely fast. "Poochie. Xiao. Roar. No. It's Yi." There were screams everywhere in the maple forest. Some people had just discovered Yi Qinghan when their throats were pierced by blood thorns. "Get out. Run. I don't want this 1,000 pieces of middle grade. He's a demon." Everyone fled to the periphery, not daring to stay any longer. But would Yi Qinghan allow it? This was a true hunt, a massacre. More than 10 people gathered together and rushed towards Flaming Cloud City. But before they could leave the maple forest, a figure blocked their path. Everyone's pupils shrank as they looked at the newcomer. Who else could it be but Yi Qinghan? A 7 feet heavy sword that was incomparably sinister, and a dense pressure enveloped the earth. It was as if a supreme expert had descended. More than 10 people were chilled by the killing. They did not dare to resist at all, and constantly retreated. Heavy berserker god-slaying style, the extreme divine dragon step was used, and the long blade slashed through the forest. A large number of maple trees were chopped in half. Yi Qinghan demonstrated what speed was. More than 10 bitter sea experts clutched their necks, their faces full of fear. The despair in their eyes was self-evident, as if they had encountered a demon from the depths of hell. In the world of martial arts, only speed was unbeatable. Chapter 63. Of all the martial arts in the world, only speed is invincible. When one's speed reaches the extreme, the opponent will not even have time to wield their sword before the blade in one's hand takes the opponent's life. This is true speed. There are still 4 blood fiends and 1 Xian Wuyu. Yi Qinghan sheathed his blade and swallowed a pill. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at Lu Outyin in the distance. Their eyes met. They were separated by thousands of meters, but the two felt as if they were right next to each other. Lu Outyin's pupils contracted, nodding his head as a sign of goodwill. Then he brought old Shui out of the maple forest. "Your Highness, I'm afraid this child will not lose to you. Moreover, he is only at the peak of the blood ignition realm. Once he breaks through, even if you use all your strength, you may not be able to defeat him." Old Shui reminded in a deep voice. "No matter, I have no enmity with him. Even if he does not appreciate my goodwill, he will not oppose me." Lu Outyin said seriously. Yi Qinghan watched Lu Outyin leave. From his hundreds of years of experience, Lu Outyin was a person that one could not offend. Once offended, the mountains would collapse and the earth would split. He would not rest until he was dead. Although he was only at the 3rd level of the Bitter Sea realm, if he truly exploded, his battle strength would not be inferior to that of a 5-star expert. The people Yi Qinghan had killed were all at the 1 to 2-star Bitter Sea realm. At most, they were 3 stars. Moreover, these people had not truly crossed the Bitter Sea realm, and had not overcome their heart demons. Their battle strength was not strong at all. On a truly powerful star, any one of the 3 stars of the Bitter Sea realm would be able to sweep away the Bitter Sea realm experts of the Owl Falling Star. Retracting his figure, Yi Qinghan focused all his attention on the 4 powerful blood fiends. If the 4 of them worked together, they would definitely be a tough bone to chew. Their assassination and concealment skills far surpassed others. The 4 blood fiends had solemn expressions, feeling the threat of death. They looked at each other and began to disperse. The distance between the four of them was not large, so they could support the other side at any time. The opponent may not be at the Blood Ignition realm. Prepare to leave. Return to the Blood Fiends and report the situation. Okay. The four of them quickly agreed. Cooperating in pairs, they moved out of the forest. Yi Qinghan held the heavy berserk saber in his hand and blocked the exit. He looked down at the four of them, and the saber core in his hand was embedded in the saber at any moment. Yi Qinghan, how dare you? I, the Blood Fiends, have already issued an ultimate kill order. You can't escape. The leader of the Blood Fiends felt his hair stand on end. He clenched his blood spear tightly and shouted coldly. Do you think I'm running away? Yi Qinghan asked with a smile. This question left the four members of Blood Fiends speechless. At this moment, it seemed like they were the ones running away, and Yi Qinghan was the hunter. You Blood Fiends are really despicable. I haven't even gotten angry yet, and you've already issued the ultimate kill order. Looks like I'm not ruthless enough, not cruel enough. Yi Qinghan's eyes revealed a ferocious glint as his saber core embedded itself into the heavy manic saber. Saber beams shot out in all directions. The aura of death instantly enveloped Shueisha and the other three. The four of them continuously retreated, their faces filled with horror. They looked at the heavy frenzied blade, as if they were facing the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It's your fortune to be able to die under the heavy frenzied blade. Yi Qinghan roared angrily as the heavy frenzied blade sliced through the void, flattening the surrounding mountain rocks and trees. The energy swept up the fiery red maple leaves, covering the waning moon and blocking their line of sight. The heavy frenzied blade contained the 8-division heavenly dragon palm. A long dragon of true energy poured out from the heavy frenzied blade, intimidating one's soul and suppressing the surrounding forces. The four members of Blood Fiends felt as if their legs were filled with lead, and even moving was extremely difficult. Slash! The heavy frenzied blade struck the four of them like a thunderbolt. The saber beams cut through the void, displaying the might of a 5th-grade combat weapon. Be careful. The saber in his hand is a 5th. Bang bang. Puff. The Blood Fiend's leader's eyes revealed a horrified glint. His legs went soft as he felt the sharp saber energy. He couldn't dodge it even if he wanted to, so he could only use his blood spears to block it. However, a few crisp sounds of swords breaking resounded through the void. The 4 blood spears were actually unable to block Yi Qinghan's saber. It was obvious how terrifying his strength was. The saber energy rushed into the bodies of the 4, crushing their vitality, as if it had their souls. The sharp true energy with the destructive aura swept through their limbs and bones, causing them to cough up blood and fly backward. After flying backward, the 4 of them understood that the saber in Yi Qinghan's hand was a 5th-grade combat weapon. Moreover, its level might be even more terrifying than the true spirit Dao wings on Xian Wuyu's back. At this moment, they no longer had the will to resist. There was only one thought in their minds. Run. Split up and run. The leader threw down the broken blood spears, turned around, and fled into the distance at an extremely fast speed. The other 3 didn't want to be left behind, so they frantically fled in all 4 directions. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. He crushed the ground with his foot and directly threw the blood spear out. It pierced through the void and directly pierced through the heart of a Blood Fiends member in the southeast. The blood spear pierced through the void and directly pierced through his heart. His corpse fell from midair. 8-division heavenly dragon palm. When the heavenly dragon appears, all things will perish. Swoosh, 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 Yi Qinghan took 8 consecutive steps. Each of his steps had its own trajectory. They drew upon the momentum of the mountain and swept up the spiritual energy within 100 miles. They converged into a gigantic heavenly dragon that could devour all living things. Roar! The gigantic dragon attacked, and the forest collapsed. Countless fiery red maple leaves rushed into the sky. In the blink of an eye, they wrapped around the powerful Blood Fiends member in the west. The dragon twisted and shattered his physical body. Its fangs pierced through his defense, and a large amount of evil energy poured into his body. He didn't have the slightest strength to resist. Then he fell limply to the ground. His eyes were filled with despair and fear. The instant death of 2 people caused the hair on the Blood Fiend's leader and the other member to stand on end. They didn't even dare to look back. They quickly fled into the distance, hating their parents for not giving them a pair of wings. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He took out a mid-grade spiritual crystal from his Qingquan ring and directly crushed it. He forcibly absorbed the monstrous spiritual energy within, which almost caused his physical body to crack open. The energy within the mid-grade spiritual crystal was too majestic and overbearing. Even Yi Qinghan's physical body couldn't withstand its destruction. Extreme divine dragon steps. Whoosh, die. Yi Qinghan almost leapt into the air. His fist tore through the air, creating tiny sparks from the friction. In the blink of an eye, he had covered more than 3 li and crashed into a giant ancient tree. Then, he erupted again and blasted the back of another blood fiend. Pooh! That blood fiend's chest bulged. Even his internal organs were instantly shattered. He vomited out blood. His 7 orifices were deformed, and his eyeballs almost popped out. Boom! His corpse fell to the ground. His body was twisted. Before he died, his eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. He didn't understand how he could be killed in an instant when he was so far away from Yi Qinghan. After Yi Qinghan killed this blood fiend, he didn't even have the interest to look at him. He turned and rushed out of the maple forest to kill the last blood fiend expert. He absolutely could not allow any witnesses to live. No matter if it was the grade of the heavy berserk blade or his true battle strength, he had to hide it for as long as possible. He once again borrowed the energy of the mid-grade spiritual crystal and poured it into his body. The true yuan in his body was like a flood that broke through a dam, uncontrollable. His physical body seemed to have lost control and could explode at any time. The sharp true yuan had broken through the bottleneck of the bitter sea stage. This time, he had no choice but to break through. But at this moment, his true yuan was already very pure. Adding to the fact that his physical body had been tempered, it had absolutely reached the great circle stage. Breaking through to the bitter sea stage was a matter of course. 1 step was 1,000 meters. Using the extreme divine dragon steps, he walked through the air. The figure of the blood fiend leader was right in front of him. Killing intent shot out from Yi Qinghan's body, covering a radius of several miles. Even the experts in the city could feel this killing intent. It was a killing intent that could make one's soul shatter. Die! Extreme space shattering stance. Yi Qinghan's fist turned into a palm. With a flick of his fingers, qi poured out, transforming into an incomparably sharp true yuan sword qi that pierced through the air and broke through the head of the blood fiend leader. Plop! The blood fiend leader was still running when he suddenly felt his soul lose its senses. His vision turned black, and he fell to the ground. His legs twitched for a while before he died completely. In the depths of the forest, the parrot and leisure were panting. They stood in the air, staring at each other, both looking extremely angry. Don't run if you have the guts. Don't chase if you have the guts. Haha. If I catch you, I don't believe that your master won't appear to find me. You can't run away, stupid bird. Wait until I deal with your master. See if I don't roast you and eat you. Just based on a useless trash like you dare to boast so shamelessly? Don't talk about my master. You can't even catch me. What are you talking about killing my master? Leisure was arrogant, but the parrot was even crazier. It maintained a distance of several hundred meters from leisure. As long as leisure moved, its escape speed was absolutely top-notch. Leisure was going crazy. He had never seen such a smart and bastard bird. Every time he wanted to give up and directly kill Yi Qinghan, he would be angered to the point of jumping around. Haha, you just have to force me to use my ultimate move. Do you really think that I can't catch up to you? The true spirit Dao wings on my back are a grade 5 combat weapon. My speed is unparalleled since ancient times. Just one use of its ultimate power costs me a few hundred middle spiritual crystals. Since you want to see it, I'll fulfill your wish. Leisure flew into a rage. Looking at the smug bird, he reached out and grabbed a few high-quality middle spirit crystals, intending to insert them into a groove behind him. The parrot was shocked and thought to itself, I'm just here to buy time. I'm not here to fight to the death with him. I'll buy as much time as I can. Wait, leisure, I think you're very smart. Your future is limitless. Let's talk about it. I'll turn over to you and help you kill Yi Qinghan. What will you give me in return? The parrot asked wretchedly. Leisure did not understand the parrot. Otherwise he would not have chosen to believe it. After all, the parrot was too despicable. It was full of lies, without a single word of truth. What do you want in return? Leisure obviously did not want to waste so many middle spiritual crystals on a despicable bird. After hesitating for a moment, he asked in a deep voice. We'll split the benefits equally. If you and I work together, you'll never have to worry about spiritual crystals again, the parrot said wretchedly. Leisure only wanted to trick the parrot. He did not even think about it, and directly nodded in agreement. However, he did not know that he had been tricked by the parrot. All right, since that's the case, I won't hide it anymore. This divine bird will tell you my true identity. I'm actually not a parrot, but a descendant of the phoenix. I'm called the snow phoenix. I can even breathe fire, the parrot said seriously. Leisure was skeptical. He was already suspicious of the parrot. This parrot's speed was too fast, and he could not catch up. Hearing the parrot's words, he became even more suspicious. Chapter 64. The parrot's glib tongue left Leisure in a daze. What snow phoenix? What surrender? He was at a loss. I'm a divine bird. Do you believe me when I say that? The parrot's bright light flashed. Its round body leaned against the mountaintop, as it said with a devilish smile. Leisure's handsome face showed a hint of curiosity. He held his sword and floated in the air, flapping his wings continuously. He was becoming more and more interested in the parrot. He didn't think that the parrot was just trying to trick him. You don't believe me? I can predict that within 100 miles to the west, there will be a large amount of spirit herbs. Young man, your opportunity has arrived. The parrot had a mysterious look, pretending to be unfathomable. Yi Qinghan had just killed 4 members of the Blood Fiends and taken away their Qiankuan rings. He had collected a large amount of spirit crystals. Although most of them were low-grade, there were at least millions of low-grade spirit crystals in the Qiankuan rings of the Bitter Sea stage. There were also more than 10,000 middle-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan took them all and prepared to go deeper into the forest to find the parrot. The true energy in his body suddenly became restless, and his expression changed. Not good, I can't suppress it. I'm going to break through to the Bitter Sea stage. Yi Qinghan frowned, looking deep into the forest. He was worried about the parrot's safety. Yi Qinghan wanted to save the parrot, but the restless true energy was roaring. If he didn't break through now, he might not be able to overcome his inner demons. Just as Yi Qinghan was worried about the unreliable parrot, the parrot was wandering around the forest with Xian Wuyu. Boom boom boom. The true energy was like the yellow river bursting its banks, uncontrollable. Chaotic images appeared in the depths of his consciousness, messing up his memories. The ruthless demon slaughtered Xiao Zhanxing, 1 man and 1 blade in a group of revered martial artists, fighting for a chance to live. Yi Qinghan, hand over the divine martial imperial codex, and I'll spare your life. Emperor Ye's face was ferocious. He raised his sword and looked at the Yi family. Qinghan, save us. 7th uncle, I don't want to die. The members of the Yi family were filled with despair and fear. They looked at the desolate Yi Qinghan with resentment and hatred. Some even began to curse Yi Qinghan. For the sake of the divine martial imperial codex, you don't even want the Yi clan? You selfish, despicable person. How many people have died under your blade? There's no one like you in the Yi family. You don't deserve to be my son. Yi Qinghan's father pointed at Yi Qinghan's nose and scolded him. He did not pity Yi Qinghan at all for the Yi family. Yi Qinghan's expression darkened. The destruction of the Yi clan was indeed closely related to him. This heart demon was a hurdle that he could not overcome. His long saber slammed into the ground with a loud rumble, piercing into the ground. A cold and arrogant aura filled the air as his black hair fluttered in the wind. The bleak figure of Yi Qinghan stood proudly in the fierce wind. He looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. His weathered figure was filled with sorrow and regret. You're not my brother. You killed my brother. I hate you. The immature Yi Mingxi pointed at Yi Qinghan and angrily accused him. This caused Yi Qinghan's body to tremble. You killed my son. Why don't you go and die? Wang Shi's face was malevolent and filled with hatred. She stared at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan seemed to have fallen into hell. He was surrounded by countless members of the Yi clan, and Yi Mingxi, cursing and condemning him. His breathing became hurried and his face turned pale. I'm sorry. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. He half knelt on the ground and held onto his heavy berserk saber. His eyes were bleeding. Ba. Yi Qinghan, these people died because of you. You're full of sins and only death can wash away your sins. Let this old man convert you. Azura Qianye's Buddhist aura shone brightly, and his Buddhist nature radiated in all directions. His monastic robe emitted a golden light, and his majesty overflowed the heavens. Yi Qinghan, who had experienced countless inner demons for hundreds of years, naturally had to bear more than the average person. There was this life and the previous life. If he could withstand it, the path ahead would be clear. If he couldn't, there was only one path, and that was hell. Give up resisting. Use death to wash away your sins. Come down and accompany us. Countless resentful spirits roared and rushed out from the depths of hell to grab Yi Qinghan. Demonic energy filled the sky and rushed into the clouds. Yi Qinghan's legs were as heavy as lead. It was extremely difficult to move even a single step. Just inner demons. How can you block my path? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. My heart is like a boulder. Even if the heavens collapse and the earth rends, my heart will not be disturbed. Life will be reborn. Death will also be reborn. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ground and put his palms together. He removed all distracting thoughts and was unwilling to crush the spirits on the battle owl star. The sky was high and the clouds were scattered. The wind blew the flowers up, and the maple leaves covered the void. The earth was pitch black as a terrifying pressure engulfed the entire fire cloud city. The Grotto Heaven Realm experts stood on the city walls and looked over with their brows tightly knitted. His hair draped over his shoulders and fluttered in the wind, covering his devilish face. His jade-like face was covered by a haze. No matter how strong his mind was, he couldn't bear the criticism and curses of his most beloved. His most beloved father, mother, sister that he loved dearly, and his only family in this life, Yi Mingxi and Wang Shi. No one could understand him. They all treated him as a murderer. These are all illusions. Inner demons, I shouldn't be addicted to this. I have a clear conscience for what happened back then. In this life, I didn't kill that child. I inherited his body and helped him take revenge. I helped him take care of his family. I didn't do anything wrong. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and muttered to himself. His iron fist clenched the heavy berserk saber tightly. He suddenly opened his eyes and shot out a sky-splitting intent. Roared out with an angry roar. Yi Qinghan pulled out his saber. His divine sense rushed out in all directions and suppressed countless resentful spirits. No matter how the resentful spirits screamed and cursed, they couldn't stop Yi Qinghan's firm Dao heart. Life is death, death is life. 10,000 demons can't stop my Dao heart. If the mountains and rivers are broken, I will create a new world and rebuild the 9th grade divine dynasty. Boomed out with a slash of the saber, the demonic qi dispersed. Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and disappeared into the night. What at a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and crashed into a lone mountain. The top of the mountain was shaved off by several feet. Flames roared and thousands of beasts ran wildly. Nangong Shimfeng stood in the sky above Fire Cloud City. When he saw Yi Qinghan instantly vanish without a trace, a strange light flashed in his eyes. Such fast speed. He has just broken through to the bitter sea stage and overcome his inner demons, but he has such battle strength. I'm afraid that Lu Outyin and Xian Wuyu may not be his match. What? You want to take in a disciple? A figure walked in the air. Another Grotto Heaven Realm expert had appeared. Facing Nangong Shimfeng, he didn't feel the slightest pressure. It could be seen that his battle strength was at the second step of the Grotto Heaven Realm, the Heaven Dance Realm. Third Xing, I didn't expect you to come. It seems that the auction house is plotting something big this time, Nangong Shimfeng said in a low voice as he looked indifferently at the newcomer. I'm not a big deal. I heard that someone at the third step of the Grotto Heaven Realm has also come. It's just that he hasn't shown himself yet. Third Xing was a vigorous middle-aged man in his 40s. He wore a green robe, and his handsome face was incomparably dignified. A hidden dragon realm expert also wants to participate? A Heaven Hook realm expert at the 4th step won't appear in a few days, right? Nangong Shenfeng was taken aback, and his eyes turned serious. As far as I know, the patriarch of the Qin family is likely to appear. But I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse for Lu Lan this time. Third Xing smiled mysteriously and said in a low voice. The Blood Fiend has lost 4 people this time. I don't know if this frightening organization will send an assassin at the 7th star of the Bitter Sea realm or above. It has nothing to do with me. Now that the Qin family has said that they want to protect Yi Qinghan, we won't participate. We'll sit and watch the Qin family and the Blood Fiend fight. Whoever wins or loses has nothing to do with us. The 2 experts of the Grotto Heaven realm discussed in a low voice, but their eyes were fixed on the depths of the forest. Yi Qinghan had not returned, so he must be comprehending his realm. In the depths of the forest, the parrot stood on Xian Wuyu's shoulder with its head held high. It pointed at a cliff and said, "Young man, this divine bird has fate with you. I'll give you a few pointers. There are at least dozens of spirit crystals worth of elixirs at the bottom of this cliff." Xian Wuyu was fooled by the parrot. It pointed out 4 or 5 places where high-grade elixirs were hidden, all of which were worth dozens of spirit crystals. This made him incomparably shocked. Some places were strange. Ordinary people would not be able to predict them. How did this parrot do it? Could it predict? Divine bird, you can really predict? Can you predict the future? Xian Wuyu jumped down the cliff and found a large number of 2nd-grade and 3rd-grade spirit herbs and elixirs. They were priceless. He believed the parrot's words without a doubt. Of course, this divine bird can predict the future and seize the opportunities below. As long as you follow me, I can guarantee that you will have a smooth journey. In the future, you will become a supreme Dao sovereign. The parrot said arrogantly. Xian Wuyu put away the herbs and looked at the parrot on his shoulder. His eyes flashed as if he was thinking about something. The parrot saw that Xian Wuyu had other thoughts. It was afraid that it could not intimidate him, so it quickly added another strong medicine. Young man, this divine bird can see that your glabella is turning dark. Soon a great disaster will come. If you are willing to listen to this divine bird, you may be able to turn the danger into safety. You may even be able to turn it into a great opportunity. The parrot was incomparably dignified, as it spoke seriously. When Xian Wuyu heard this, he was shocked. His master, Shi Feng, had also warned him that this journey of opportunity and disaster coexisted. If he could handle it well, he would have a great fortune. If he could not handle it well, a great disaster would befall him. These words coincided with the parrot's words. Divine bird, please give me a few pointers. Xian Wuyu bowed slightly and humbly asked for advice. The parrot looked at him like a senior looking at a junior. It nodded and said, "Not bad. Young man, you have a bright future ahead of you. This divine bird will give you a few pointers." Xian Wuyu looked at the parrot seriously, as if he had been fooled by the parrot. He was waiting for the parrot to speak. Your opportunity lies with Yi Qinghan. He is a man of great fortune. Those who follow him will live. Those who do not will perish. In the worst case, their souls will be destroyed. This is all I have to say. You will understand in the future. The parrot said in a deep voice. When it mentioned Yi Qinghan, Xian Wuyu's eyes flashed. He stared at the parrot and realized why he had chased after it. The parrot saw that Xian Wuyu was staring at it and thought to itself, "Fuck. Why did I mention that jinx? He hasn't come looking for me. This bastard is even more unreliable than I am." What? You don't believe me? Do you think I am Yi Qinghan's spirit pet? That's ridiculous. I am a divine bird. Why would I want to be someone's spirit pet? I just want to freeload some good fortune. The parrot was afraid that Xian Wuyu would doubt it, so it immediately explained. Chapter 65. In the east, the setting sun illuminated the maple forest. Yi Qinghan was hiding on a lone mountain. Around him were middle-class spirit crystals. The spirit-gathering formation automatically absorbed spirit energy, pushing it into his body. All the pores on his body opened, and the spirit energy tempered his body. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's body was extremely strong. It was like a divine weapon, invulnerable to swords and spears, impervious to fire and water. The hostility in his eyes gradually dissipated, and his entire body emitted an aura of righteousness, adding to his divinity. His skin was glossy, full of spirit energy, and filled with a murderous aura. The first ray of sunlight in the morning shone on Yi Qinghan's face. His vigorous face was even more captivating. After passing the bitter sea stage, Yi Qinghan's temperament became even more enchanting. It was like the sun, making people unable to open their eyes. It was also like a snow lotus on a snowy mountain, swaying in the wind. It was incomparably proud, but it made people involuntarily want to approach it. The violent True Yuan was finally under control. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath, closing his eyes to sense the position of the parrot. He discovered that the parrot was already 100 miles away from him. The spiritual pet contract could not sense it. The only thing he could be sure of was that it was not dead. Just as he was about to step into the depths of the forest, his brows suddenly twitched. He discovered that the parrot was speeding over, and there seemed to be a very strong aura beside it. It's Xian Wuyu. Why is it together with Xian Wuyu? Could it be that it was captured? Yi Qinghan was shocked, hurriedly rushing into the depths of the forest. But not long after, Yi Qinghan raised his head to look at the sky. Xian Wuyu was like an ancient divine phoenix, his huge wings flapping in the sky, and the stars moving. In the blink of an eye, he had pounced into Flaming Cloud City, and the parrot was standing on his head. It did not seem like a captive at all. Yi Qinghan was left speechless. The parrot was such a weirdo that he felt like he was drunk. He had asked it to divert Leisure's attention, and in the span of a single night, it had managed to trick him. Within Flaming Cloud City, the flow of people increased once again. There were Bitter Sea stage cultivators at every turn, and even Grotto Heaven stage cultivators were not that rare anymore. Yi Qinghan quietly followed the flow of people into the city. With so many geniuses appearing at the same time, even Yi Qinghan would be drowned out. Moreover, he had taken the initiative to restrain his aura, making him seem like an ordinary youth. He didn't attract anyone's attention. Returning to the front of the Lingbao Hall, Yi Qinghan suddenly stopped. He stared at the enormous Lingbao Hall, and felt that there was another terrifying existence inside. Even he did not have the confidence to fight against it. His aura is very similar to Qin Shan's. Could he be the head of the Qin family? Yi Qinghan muttered in a low voice. Young Master Yi, you've returned. Deacon Zhu is inside receiving the lords from above. He told me to wait here. If you return, please enter the private room directly. A servant ran out and said respectfully, Yes, I know. Yi Qinghan nodded his head, and put the blood thorn into his sleeve. He carried the heavy berserk blade, and directly walked into the Lingbao Hall. The people of the Lingbao Hall looked into Yi Qinghan's eyes, and did not dare to look directly at him. They all bowed and avoided him, entering the interior of the Lingbao Hall. In the center of the courtyard, an old man who looked about 50 or 60 years old stood there. His hands were behind his back, and his back was facing the door. He looked at the pond in the center of the courtyard, as if he was immersed in the scenery. A faint pressure subconsciously spread outwards, intimidating people. Zhu Sheng stood respectfully at the side, holding a cup of tea, not daring to move. Yi Qinghan looked at this person, and knew that he was definitely a top expert of the Lingbao Hall. If he was not the head of the Qin family, he was at least a grand elder. You are indeed a talent of the younger generation. No wonder Qin Shan and Qin Zheng praised you so much. You are the first person to discover me outside the Lingbao Hall. The old man slowly turned around. His gaze was sharp, as if he could see through a person's soul. He looked at Yi Qinghan, but there was some doubt in his eyes because he could not see through Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan maintained a distance of 5 meters and nodded slightly, which could be considered a greeting. I am Qin Ying, the head of the Qin family, and the head of the Lingbao Hall. Young Master Yi does not need to be vigilant. I have never done business by force. Furthermore, I do not believe that I can kill you 100%. There is no benefit in offending you, and it will also bring shame to the reputation of the Lingbao Hall. Qin Ying's voice was somewhat hoarse as he looked at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently and nodded. However, he would not choose to believe Qin Ying just because he said such words. He indifferently said, "Mr. Qin, since you are here to do business, then let's get straight to the point." Qin Ying indicated for Zhu Sheng to leave. He then waved his hand and a faint array opened. It was enough to block the spying and attacks of Grotto Heaven experts. "Mr. Yi, please take a seat. No one will disturb you here." Qin Ying indicated. The courtyard's environment was very beautiful. Green willows drooped by the side of the pond, goldfish swam about, and lotus flowers had already begun to bloom, emitting a dense spiritual energy. Yi Qinghan came to the side of the lotus pond and slowly sat down. "After this business is done and the auction is over, I will have to leave this place. I cannot stay for long." Yi Qinghan inwardly muttered to himself as he decided on his future plans. "I heard that Mr. Yi has a 5th-grade martial skill to sell. I wonder if it is true." Qin Ying stared at Yi Qinghan and asked in a deep voice. "Of course it is true. The reason why I am cooperating with the Lingbao Hall is because Yi Mengxi is in the Lingbao Hall. Moreover, I feel that the Lingbao Hall is trustworthy." Yi Qinghan indifferently said, "It seems that young Master Yi is very wary of me. I wonder why you are willing to hand Yi Mengxi over to the Lingbao Hall. Are you not afraid that I will capture her to threaten you?" Qin Ying saw that Yi Qinghan still maintained a certain distance from him. The blood thorns in his sleeves were like venomous snakes that could kill people at any time. He could not help but ask curiously, "As for Yi Mengxi, I will help if I can. I will absolutely not give up my principles for her. You are very smart, and will not do such a stupid thing." Yi Qinghan's lips curled up as he dispelled some of Qin Ying's foolish thoughts. Yi Mengxi was Yi Qinghan's weak spot, but this weak spot would not kill him. Once it was broken, Yi Qinghan would transform into a flawless vicious beast, and no one would be able to stop him. Ha ha ha, of course. I have not fallen to the point where a 5-year-old child can threaten me. However, the Qin clan did not hesitate to offend the blood fiends in order to cater to you and protect Yi Mengxi. Shouldn't Mr. Yi show some sincerity? Qin Ying's aura changed as he asked in a deep voice. "What kind of sincerity do you want?" Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he stared at Qin Ying. "Since you have so many rank 4 martial skills, you must have more than one rank 5 martial skill. This old man wants to buy a stronger rank 5 martial skill. A martial skill that can allow the Qin clan to become a rank 5 wealthy clan. I hope Mr. Yi can help me." Qin Ying emitted a powerful aura as his ambition increased explosively. It was obvious that he wanted to unify the Alfal Star and become a rank 5 tyrant. "Let's not talk about whether I have such a martial skill. Even if I did, do you think the Qin clan can afford it? In the endless universe, there are as many rank 4 sects as there are hairs on a cow. However, how many rank 5 wealthy clans are there? Any peak Dao sovereign expert can create a rank 4 martial skill. However, have you seen anyone who can create a rank 5 martial skill?" Yi Qinghan asked in disdain. "My Qin clan can pay in installments. Any amount of spirit crystals is fine. I believe that the Spirit Treasures Pavilion can reach the endless universe. As long as you are willing to give the Qin clan a chance and cooperate with us, the Qin clan will not mistreat Yi Mengxi in the future, and will not let you down." Qin Ying stood up and said in a deep voice, "Ha ha ha. The Qin clan is indeed worthy of being called businessmen. You're trying to gain something without risking anything. With just a word of cooperation, you can take away a 5th rank martial skill. Do you know that a true 5th rank martial skill is worth a small star? Even if you sell the owl falling star, you might not be able to exchange it for a truly tyrannical 5th rank martial skill." Yi Qinghan laughed loudly and stood up to look down at the old man in front of him. This old man believes and also knows the value of a rank 5 secret skill. Therefore, I beg Mr. Yi to give the Qin clan a chance. Qin Ying looked at Yi Qinghan's wild laughter and knew that there would be a chance today. As long as the Qin clan could get something that interested Yi Qinghan, or a promise that he would trust, Qin Ying was excited. Qin Ying was excited. He knew that since Yi Qinghan was able to take out a very low-level 5th grade secret technique, then he would be able to take out a true 5th grade super secret technique, one that could allow the Qin clan to advance in rank. Therefore, he gave up on using Yi Mingxi's life to threaten Yi Qinghan. As the saying goes, you have to give up something to gain something. To tell you the truth, you don't have the qualifications to practice a rank 5 martial skill. Your talent is average and your aptitude is average. You are only smart enough. Even if you have a rank 5 martial skill, you won't be able to pass the Dao Sovereign Realm's lightning tribulation. Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Ying carefully and said frankly. Qin Ying's expression turned ugly. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to give him such an evaluation. He reached the blood-burning realm when he was young, and crossed the sea of bitterness and inner demons when he was middle-aged. He reached the Grotto Heaven realm in less than 100 years. Now he was 300 years old, and had reached the peak of the 3rd step of the Grotto Heaven realm. He could enter the 4th step at any time. In Yi Qinghan's eyes, his talent was average and his aptitude was average. Then, Mr. Yi, do you think this kid has some talent? A tender voice sounded in the courtyard. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed, and he took a step back. He was extremely shocked. Even with his powerful divine sense, he didn't notice that there was a 3rd person in the courtyard. A figure stepped out of the room. The youth was wearing a purple robe. His footsteps were light and agile. His devilishly perfect face made countless women pale in comparison. His eyes were dim and without light. He held a zither in his arms and slowly walked out of the hall. Yi Qinghan carefully sized up the youth. He found that he seemed to have no soul and was blind. He was at most 14 or 15 years old. Even when he walked, he didn't cause any spiritual energy fluctuations. Blood-burning realm, but his soul is one with the world. The zither immortal crimson demon physique that is rarely seen. Yi Qinghan lost his voice. Since his rebirth, this was the first time he was so shocked. The zither immortal crimson demon physique had a natural soul that was one with the world. There was a zither birthmark on the center of the palm. When one was able to cultivate, they could automatically revive the birthmark and summon it as a supreme treasure. The sound of the zither could destroy the soul of an expert. This kind of person only appeared once in 10,000 years. Every time, they could shake the 9 heavens and 10,000 worlds. Even if they couldn't be crowned emperor, they could still kill their way into the desolate universe and contend against the king of 10,000 beasts and the overlords of forbidden areas. This kid Qin Shihuang greets Mr. Yi. The youth bowed without the slightest arrogance. He was a direct descendant of the Qin clan, and was deeply liked by Qin Ying. Mr. Yi, what kind of physique did you say my son had? You mean my son has a special physique? Qin Ying was shocked and asked. It was clear that the Qin clan had no way of finding out the true physique of Qin Shihuang. Chapter 66. The Qin Emperor heard what Yi Qinghan said clearly. The zither fairy crimson demon constitution. Although he didn't know what kind of constitution it was, he knew it must be very powerful. Otherwise, Yi Qinghan wouldn't be so surprised. The Qin Emperor didn't show any emotion. His young face was still respectful, but the zither birthmark in his palm became hot, emitting a faint golden light, as if it was going to fly out of his hand. He hasn't summoned the zither birthmark for the first time. He is definitely an unpolished gem. If I refine him a little, his future will be unpredictable. Yi Qinghan murmured to himself. His eyes flickered as he stared at the Qin Emperor's eyes. He couldn't help but frown. How could the zither immortal scarlet demon be blind? What's wrong with your eyes? Yi Qinghan asked seriously. Mr. Yi, I was born like this. I can't see, but my ears and consciousness are naturally sensitive, the Qin Emperor replied respectfully. Yi Qinghan was confused. Why was the Qin Emperor so respectful when meeting him for the first time? If it were someone else with such a powerful background and terrifying talent, they would be very arrogant. Even if they weren't a playboy, they wouldn't be so respectful to someone they met for the first time. However, according to rumors, people with the zither immortal scarlet demon physique were born with a pure heart. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to communicate with the zither, let alone cultivate to the peak state. Mr. Yi must be confused as to why my son is so respectful. It's because you are the most powerful person I've ever met. Even my great-grandfather is not as powerful as you, especially in the aspect of soul. Although the Qin emperor couldn't see Yi Qinghan's expression, he could feel the fluctuation of energy. Therefore, he concluded that Yi Qinghan was confused. He was definitely a person with an extremely sensitive mind. Yi Qinghan was surprised. This person was indeed extraordinary. The zither immortal scarlet demon physique that appeared once every 10,000 years could achieve this. He would definitely rule the world in the future and look down on all living things. If he was crowned as a monarch, he might be able to reverse the 9 heavens and live forever. He would be the most powerful person in all the ages. Come here, come to me. Looking at the respectful face of the Qin emperor, Yi Qinghan could feel the sadness in his eyes, even though there was no light in his eyes. He couldn't help but feel pity for him as he looked at the respectful face of the Qin emperor. The Qin emperor could sense Yi Qinghan's emotional fluctuations, and so could Yi Qinghan. The Qin emperor came before Yi Qinghan respectfully with the ancient zither in his arms, allowing Yi Qinghan to lift his eyelids. The black and white of his eyes were distinct. The ancient zither was reflected in his empty pupils, and the lines on it could be seen clearly. Yi Qinghan took the guqin from his bosom, and found that this guqin was obviously different from ordinary guqin. Ordinary guqin had 7 strings, which corresponded to the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, plus 1 literary and 1 martial. It was also called a 7-string guqin. However, the guqin in the hands of the Qin emperor had 9 strings. Even with Yi Qinghan's knowledge, it was the first time he had seen such a guqin. Judging from the material, it was at most a guqin of the 4th grade. However, judging from the craftsmanship, it was extremely exquisite, which made Yi Qinghan exclaim in admiration. "Where did you get this guqin?" Yi Qinghan asked in a serious tone. In response to young Master Ye's question, "This is the guqin that I saw in my sea of consciousness in a dream last night. I made this guqin on purpose. Since my cultivation is limited, I can only make it this good. However, it is not even 1/10 of the power of the guqin that appeared in my sea of consciousness," the Qin emperor said with pursed lips. Yi Qinghan remained silent for a long time, and Qining didn't say anything either. At this moment, Yi Qinghan displayed the true power of a mighty figure. A powerful aura was emitted from his body, suppressing Qin Ying's soul. The entire courtyard was extremely stifling. Goldfish swam on the surface of the water, breathing in the air. The Qin emperor raised his head and looked at Yi Qinghan, hoping to receive some guidance. However, Yi Qinghan didn't say anything from beginning to end. Yi Qinghan looked at the Qin emperor. It was unknown what he was thinking, causing the Qin emperor to be at a loss. After an hour, the Qin emperor finally took the initiative to break the silence. The Qin emperor wishes to take young master as his master. "I beg young master to not be stingy with your guidance," the Qin emperor bowed and begged. However, Yi Qinghan shook his head, causing Qin Ying and the Qin emperor to reveal a disappointed expression. "I am not a guqin cultivator. I won't be of much help to you," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. "This little one doesn't ask for your help in the guqin Dao. I only ask that you light up a bright lamp on my path. Although I am blind, my heart is not. In the depths of my heart, I am telling myself that your appearance will definitely change my life." The Qin emperor directly knelt down in an extremely respectful manner. With his arrogant temperament, it was clear that he was sincerely asking for guidance. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. He didn't feel happy just because the future emperor knelt down in front of him. He was confident that one day, he would definitely step onto the peak of the 9 heavens and become the eternal war emperor. If the zither immortal crimson demon physique was an enemy, he would still be trampled under his feet. "Rise. Master can only lead you through the door. Cultivation depends on the individual. I can only give you a few pointers. The rest is up to you," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Qining was overjoyed. Yi Qinghan had agreed. Since he was the Qin emperor's master, then wouldn't the matter of the 5th rank martial technique be settled? "Master, does this mean that you have agreed?" the Qin emperor respectfully asked. You can say that. However, my requirements for accepting disciples are very high, especially regarding one's wisdom. If one day I find that you are not qualified, I will kick you out of the sect at any time, Yi Qinghan warned in a cold voice. Thank you, Master. This disciple will definitely not do evil. The Qin Emperor was still respectful. Although he was only 14 years old, his wisdom far surpassed his peers. Rise. Yi Qinghan lifted his palm. The Qin Emperor couldn't help but stand up. Qining was overjoyed when he saw that he had succeeded in becoming Yi Qinghan's disciple. He rubbed his hands and said, Young Master Yi, since we are now a family, then can we discuss the matter of the 5th rank martial technique? Yi Qinghan was expressionless. Regarding the powerful 5th rank martial technique, he would definitely not reveal it to anyone, including Yi Mengxi. After all, he had cultivated the powerful 5th rank martial technique in his previous life. If it was leaked and someone found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yi Qinghan had collected quite a number of 5th rank martial techniques. Back then, there were some that he didn't like, but he felt that it would be a pity to throw them away, so he collected them in his memory. After thinking about it, there were some martial techniques that were suitable for this small planet. The flipping cloud palm could trigger the laws of heaven and earth. When it was used, it could cause the clouds to turn and rain to fall. It was extremely tyrannical. However, in Yi Qinghan's opinion, it was still a little lacking, so it had been hidden in his memory. The flipping cloud palm could be considered a middle-rank martial technique among the 5th-rank martial techniques. It wasn't a high-rank martial technique, but it was good enough to be a low-rank martial technique. When cultivated to the peak, it could definitely cause a phenomenon and sweep through the lower-rank planets. Such a martial technique, in a powerful planet, would be worth 100,000 upper-rank martial techniques, which was equivalent to 10 million middle-rank martial techniques, or 1 billion lower-rank martial techniques. It was definitely enough to buy a small planet like the Owl Falling Star. The flipping cloud palm, a middle-rank martial technique of the 5th rank. When it is used, it can trigger the roar of the Great Tao, causing lightning to flash and thunder to roll. It can be cultivated to the peak of the Tao sovereign realm. When one enters the Tao through martial arts, it is also known as the Great Revered Realm. It is enough to establish a large clan of the 5th rank, and is worth 10 million middle-rank martial techniques. Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Ying's expectant eyes, and didn't want to become enemies with him. After all, Qin Shi Huang was still a child worthy of his nurturing. Furthermore, Qin Shi Huang was only 14 years old, which was the best time for his psychological development. It was easy for him to be influenced by others. If such a monstrous talent changed, it would be a disaster for the entire human race in the universe. It would also be a disaster for all living things. I will give you a 50% discount. Give me 100,000 middle-rank martial techniques every year, and I will pay you back in 50 years. Yi Qinghan's attitude was firm. His disdainful gaze made Qining lose all thoughts of bargaining. Okay. Qining nodded without hesitation. Yi Qinghan didn't want to waste any more time. He directly transmitted the memory of the flipping cloud palm to Qin Shi Huang, who then transmitted it to Qining. After Qining received the secret technique of the flipping cloud palm, his old face flushed red, and his body trembled with excitement. This is a true martial technique. If I had received it 100 years earlier, I would have definitely stepped into the realm of Tao Sovereign and become a supreme ruler. Qining said to himself with a trembling voice. It was as if he could see the Qin clan soaring, and he could trample all over the world with a single palm. Stop talking nonsense. Give me the 100,000 middle-rank spirit crystals. I have a use for them. Yi Qinghan scolded without any trace of politeness. He didn't care if Qining was a heavenly passage realm expert or not. Young master, you're here to attend the auction, right? This old man already knew. I've already prepared everything for you. Qining gently stroked his purple robe and waved his hand. A universe ring flew towards Yi Qinghan. A grade 4 yin and yang ring had a space of several thousand square meters. More importantly, it could store the heavy berserk saber. Even if the heavy berserk saber didn't have a saber core, it was still a grade 4 yin and yang ring. A grade 3 yin and yang ring wouldn't be able to store it. However, a grade 4 yin and yang ring was different. As long as the saber core was separated from the heavy berserk saber, it could be stored inside the ring. Yi Qinghan took the grade 4 yin and yang ring without any trace of politeness. When he checked it with his sea of consciousness, he found that it was full of middle-rank spirit crystals. There were at least 100,000 of them. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Shi Huang and said, "Come with me. I will teach you how to activate the birthmark immortal zither." With that, Yi Qinghan turned and left. He didn't give Qin Ning a chance to speak again. In the guest area of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, there was a separate courtyard. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers. Green willows hung over the lake, and hundreds of flowers bloomed. It was a magnificent scene. Yi Qinghan's proud and aloof figure walked on the green grass. Qin Shi Huang respectfully followed behind him, while holding his zither. His frail body was dressed in a purple battle robe. As the robe swayed in the wind, there was a kind of otherworldly purity. "Can you feel the birthmark immortal zither in your palm?" Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. "Teacher, sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. When I can feel it, I feel as if it is about to break through the shackles and rush out of my body. When I can't feel it, I feel as if it doesn't exist." Qin Shi Huang's immature voice floated in the air. It had an extremely strong penetrating power. His voice was like the sound of nature, spreading out with the wind. "I don't understand the Tao of the zither, but I know that the Tao of the zither emphasizes on calmness, purity, and melodiousness. The unity of man and sword, and the unity of man and saber, is the highest realm of martial cultivation. I think it is the same for zither cultivators. You have to try to use your soul to communicate with the birthmark immortal zither. Treat it as your weapon, your soul, and activate it." Yi Qinghan recalled the records about the zither immortal's scarlet demon physique in his memory. The vicissitudes of life covered the mountains and rivers. The lonely Tao of saber was filled with tyrannical sharpness, causing people to be in awe. What the Qin Shi Huang was in awe of was Yi Qinghan's soul, not his aura. No matter how powerful the aura was, in the eyes of the Qin Shi Huang, it was like a fleeting cloud that would disperse with the wind. This was his advantage. When he heard Yi Qinghan's words, the Qin Shi Huang tried to lock his spiritual awareness onto the zither immortal zither, using his soul to communicate with the birthmark slowly. A wave of heat came from the birthmark immortal zither in his palm, as if the birthmark immortal zither was about to rush out of his body. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.